Be sure to like and subscribe to Starbound here on YouTube. Supporting us may seem small, but it means everything to the journey we're on. Every like, every subscription is a step forward for us to share these stories with more people. I've never been able to find any joy in these ceremonies. To me, they are pointless spectacles filled with empty speeches and contrived rituals. The Republic Council treats these events as grand occasions, celebrating the induction of yet another species into their ranks. Yet as I sit here once again, enduring the droning formalities, I can't help but wonder, what is so special about this moment? What is so unique about this new race? The galaxy teems with intelligent life, with thousands of species scattered across its countless stars. These species arise from worlds so peaceful, so nurturing, that their evolution into sentient beings feels as inevitable as the sunrise. To me, there is nothing extraordinary about it. Yet the Council insists on turning these predictable milestones into elaborate spectacles. The routine never changes. A representative of some fragile, pale, and weak-willed species stands before the Council, their voice brimming with pride. They recount their history, filled with tales of peaceful progression. Their world, they claim, is one of harmony. They speak of how they cultivated crops to sustain their growth, how their societies unified without conflict, and how they achieved spacefaring technology without ever enduring the trials of true struggle. Their so-called wars are nothing more than minor skirmishes, brief clashes claiming a few hundred lives at most. They lack even the concept of true natural disasters, their worlds so serene that the idea of hurricanes or earthquakes feels foreign to them. When my people first ventured into the stars, we were shocked by what we found, not by danger or hostility, but by the sheer softness of the galaxy. We had expected that intelligent life could only arise from harsh, unforgiving worlds like our own. Yet we discovered the opposite. These paradise worlds, as we came to call them, were cradles of life. Their mild climates and abundant resources allowed for the development of sentience without struggle. My people, the Var, hail from what the galaxy calls a death world, a place of relentless challenges and brutal survival. For a time, we took pride in this distinction. It made us strong, resilient, and unyielding. We leveraged the fear others felt towards us, our durability and strength, to secure a position of power in the Republic. But that power came at a cost. Now the galaxy sees us as little more than brutes, mindless masses of muscle who solve problems with fists rather than thought. They fail to recognize the richness of our culture. They overlook our art, our music, our scientific achievements. To them, we are defined solely by our physicality, as if intelligence and creativity could not coexist with strength. How could they understand? They have never known struggle. They do not know what it means to endure freezing tundras or scorching deserts. Their worlds provide everything they need, and their challenges are limited to technological puzzles. They build temperature-controlled shelters to colonize harsh environments, never imagining what it means to survive them without aid. And so, I find myself here once again. I am Var Axion, fourth son of Emperor Var, and I have been sent as a delegate to this induction ceremony. My father insists that we must maintain appearances, that our absence would raise suspicions. The other species might believe the rumors that we are preparing for war. Such suspicions are absurd, of course. The Var are always prepared for war. To us, readiness is a necessity, not an exception. So it is the cornerstone of our survival. As the ceremony begins, I push my irritation aside. My father has a habit of assigning me the task of summarizing these proceedings for him. He refuses to subject himself to the monotony of watching the recordings, leaving me to endure the event and report back. This forces me to pay attention, no matter how predictable the ritual may be. Delegate Var, I think you'll find this one particularly interesting, says Delegate Jakesai, seated beside me. She represents the Jakesai Combine, the species responsible for making first contact with this new race. I tolerate her presence because her people, like mine, understand struggle. They evolved alongside another sentient species on their homeworld and endured a period of conflict before uniting in cooperation. Their history, while brief, includes what my people would recognize as a true war. I glance at her, my skepticism evident. What is it this time? Another pacifist race? Or have they finally managed to lose more than 1,000 lives in one of their so-called wars? She chuckles, the sound a sharp, avian trill that grates on my nerves. Just pay attention, I promise you'll find them intriguing. I sigh, resigned. Fine, I'll humor you. No, not that I have much choice. Delegate JXI rises, her voice amplified by the projection system. Delegates of the Republic Council, I welcome you all to this momentous occasion. Today we celebrate the induction of a new species into our ranks. They hail from the frontier regions, far from the core of the Republic. Despite their distance, they are a cultured people, and it is my honor to introduce their representative, Delegate Smith of Humanity United. The human delegate steps forward, their appearance drawing my immediate scrutiny. Pale-skinned and thin, as expected, but not frail. Their musculature is noticeable, suggesting genuine strength rather than the bloated forms typical of species from low-gravity worlds. Their features are sharp but not predatory. With short fur on their head and face, their teeth are square, save for a few pointed ones, marking them as omnivores. They begin speaking, their voice resonant and measured. Thank you, Delegate JXII. Ladies, gentlemen, and esteemed members of the Republic Council, I am Delegate Smith, representing humanity. We are honored to join this assembly. Their mannerisms are confident, yet there is a humility to their tone. They introduce themselves as humans, explaining the structure of their names and the linguistic diversity of their species. Hundreds of languages, they claim, each with unique grammatical rules and cultural significance. This detail piques my curiosity, as it mirrors the VAR's own tradition of clan-specific languages. They proceed to introduce their homeworld, Earth. The holographic display comes to life, showcasing their solar system. 8 planets, numerous moons, and countless smaller bodies orbit a main sequence star. Their homeworld is the 3rd planet, a mineral-rich sphere with gravity nearly identical to that of VAR. This revelation surprises me. The gravity explains their musculature. It is not an illusion, but a necessity for survival. The Wrigley frame answers to the shape of their homeworld, answers to the survival of absolutely everything. The gravity explains their musculature. It is not an illusion, but a necessity for survival. As I watch, I notice their stance. It is slightly awkward, reminiscent of how the VAR struggled to adapt to low-gravity environments. The neural mechanisms that govern balance and movement are clearly compensating for the unfamiliar conditions. It is a subtle detail, but it speaks volumes about their adaptability. For the first time in a long while, I find myself genuinely intrigued. Perhaps Jakesai was right, perhaps these humans are worth paying attention to, but I temper my curiosity with caution. It is too early to draw conclusions, and I have learned to be wary of first impressions. The presence of a large planet does not necessarily mean it is harsh or even indicative of its inhabitants' nature. The new species that stood before us during the ceremony did not appear to be burdened with traits of aggression or combat adaptations. In fact, their unassuming appearance suggested they might be a peaceful race, much like many others we had encountered before. And so, yet, despite this lack of clear evidence for any martial prowess, a part of me couldn't help but feel a spark of hope. A hope for something intriguing, something worthy of my attention. The ceremony, as grand and solemn as it was, needed something more to captivate me. When the delegate of this new species began to speak again, a hush fell over the council. It became clear that I was not the only one who noticed the peculiar similarities between their world and ours, specifically to our beloved Viterra, known to them as Mother Earth or simply Earth. Their choice of name was, admittedly, unremarkable, Earth, translating to dirt. It was a term born of simplicity, a lack of creativity perhaps, but one that spoke to their ancestors' pragmatic roots. Yet, what captivated me was not their naming conventions, but the composition of their world. Earth's most striking feature, as the delegate explained, was its abundance of water. Nearly 70% of its surface was covered in it, though, as they confessed, 97% of this water was so heavily mineralized that it was poisonous to them. The poisoning was further exacerbated during their Industrial Revolution, which unleashed a torrent of pollution and industrial waste into their already scarce freshwater resources. It was only through their alliance with the Juth Combine that they began to rectify this catastrophic imbalance. Their oceans were toxic to them, much like our own oceans on Terra, and they relied on a mere 3% of drinkable water to sustain their civilization. To survive and thrive under such limitations spoke volumes of their resilience. As the delegate elaborated on humanity's evolutionary journey, their species emerged and flourished in inland regions, far from the perilous oceans, taking root on the largest continental landmasses. Despite originating in one of the hottest and harshest regions of their planet, humanity displayed an unparalleled ability to adapt. Over time, they spread across Earth, enduring its most unforgiving environments, from scorching deserts that seared by day and froze by night, to lush jungles teeming with venomous creatures, to icy tundras where survival was a daily battle against the elements. Humanity's early existence was marked by a tenacity and resourcefulness that allowed them to not only endure but thrive. The council chamber was awash with awe as the hollow projector displayed Earth's varied landscapes: rolling green hills, vast open grasslands, dense forests, and isolated islands. Each scene bore a striking resemblance to Terra, albeit with different hues. The reds, purples, and blacks of our homeworld were replaced by Earth's greens, browns, and blues. It was a mesmerizing comparison that left no doubt about the parallel challenges and triumphs both worlds had seen. The collective gasp from the council underscored the gravity of this revelation. As the presentation unfolded, the human similarities to our own species became even more evident. Delegate Smith's recounting of their history mirrored the speech given by my ancestor, Emperor Var-Noan, 5 generations ago when he introduced our species to the Galactic Council. The same emphasis on surviving a perilous homeworld, the same determination to earn respect through shared struggle. It was uncanny, and I found myself rising from my seat, a silent gesture of respect among my people. Few in the council understood the significance of this act, mistaking it for aggression or defensiveness. Only JXI, who had long studied my ways, could discern that my stance carried nothing but admiration. Delegate Smith's narrative took an unexpected turn as he described the greatest threat Earth had to offer, not its predators, its environments, or its limited resources, but humanity itself. A model of a human body appeared on the projector, bearing an extra set of limbs, a visual metaphor for their ingenuity and adaptability. The delegate revealed grim statistics. 1.5 billion humans had perished in wars before their discovery by the Juth Combine, and this staggering figure excluded countless others who succumbed to murder, accidents, or disease. Humanity's most dangerous predator was humanity itself. The presentation transitioned to humanity's roots as hunter-gatherers. Primitive humans, clad in rudimentary clothing and wielding basic tools, were depicted stalking large animals. At first glance, their hunting techniques seemed inefficient, even clumsy. Their initial assaults rarely succeeded, and their prey often escaped. But then came the revelation. Their true method was endurance hunting. Hunting to kill animals is something new to me. And the revelation was endurance hunting. Unlike the ambush tactics of our ancestors, humans would pursue their prey relentlessly, exhausting the animals over the course of an entire day. By nightfall, when the prey could run no longer, the humans would close in for the kill. This strategy required immense patience and a unique physiological adaptation for stamina. It was a testament to their capacity for long-term planning and perseverance. As Delegate Smith continued, he chronicled humanity's rise, from nomadic tribes to complex civilizations. Agriculture and animal domestication marked the dawn of a new era, giving rise to villages, towns, cities, and eventually nations. Trade flourished as settlements exchanged goods and resources, leading to the development of economies, currencies, and infrastructure. Sports became more mainstream than ever before, culture more innovative, and infrastructure. Humanity learned to mold the environment to suit their needs, extracting the Earth's riches to build tools, vehicles, and weapons. Yet their growth was tempered by conflict. Limited resources, especially drinkable water and arable land, led to frequent wars, stalling progress and forcing humanity to innovate or perish. The holoprojector now displayed a montage of human warfare. From early battles fought with swords and shields to modern conflicts waged with guided munitions and atomic bombs. The evolution of their military technology was both breathtaking and chilling. The parallels to our own history were undeniable. Like the VAR, humanity had waged wars over resources, territory, and ideology. Their pride, vengeance, and nationalism often fueled conflicts, sometimes over trivial matters, sometimes over profound philosophical disputes. Yet, despite their capacity for destruction, they had also demonstrated an extraordinary ability to adapt and grow. As I watched the presentation, a thought struck me. Humanity's history was not just a story of conflict and survival. It was a testament to their indomitable spirit. They had faced challenges that would have broken lesser species, and they had emerged stronger each time. I could not help but feel a deep respect for these beings. Their resilience, their ingenuity, their willingness to endure and overcome. These were qualities that resonated deeply with me. While some in the council might view them as a threat, I saw an opportunity. An alliance with humanity could bring immense benefits to both our peoples. For now, I would listen closely, for their story was far from over. The presentation was over, yet its weight lingered in the chamber, like an echo of something profound. The human delegate had just concluded, but the silent contemplation of the gathered species was far more telling than any applause could have been. Among those present, the VAR delegate, an imposing figure named Axion, sat with an inscrutable expression, his scaled features betraying little of his inner thoughts. For all the dissonance that might have existed between the humans and the VAR, something in the presentation resonated deeply within him. As the murmurs of disbelief and hushed conversation began to spread, Axion couldn't suppress a booming laugh that echoed throughout the chamber. It was loud, genuine, and disarming in its audacity. The other delegates turned to him, some with expressions of surprise, others with outright horror. Axion basked in their stares as if daring them to challenge his reaction. The human representative, a man named John Smith, glanced toward Axion with a mixture of curiosity and unease. Axion's laughter had not been one of mockery. It was something deeper, more profound. The VAR, for all their militaristic tendencies, valued honesty and respect, and in Smith's brutal recounting of humanity's violent and troubled history, Axion had found a mirror of his own people's struggles. While the other species recoiled in horror at the concept of war over ideals, resources, and even abstract notions like honor, Axion saw only truth. Widespread exiles, variant minds, and abstract notions like honor. Axion saw only truth. He rose from his seat, the movement deliberate and slow, a gesture of respect among the VAR. The act caused an immediate hush to fall over the chamber as all eyes fixed on him. Smith, for his part, remained standing at the podium, clearly unsure of what to expect. The VAR's reputation for aggression was well known, and Smith's instructions had been clear: avoid any unnecessary confrontation. Yet, here was Axion, standing tall, his gaze locked onto Smith, a glimmer of something akin to admiration in his slitted eyes. The rest of the ceremony passed in a blur. Smith dutifully outlined humanity's cultural achievements, from art to music, literature to games. The delegates' reactions were mixed. Some were intrigued by the creativity of human fiction. Others were unnerved by how many of their games bore striking similarities to war simulations. Still, the presentation's tone had shifted. leaving the Galactic Council chamber in a contemplative mood rather than a hostile one. When it was finally over, Smith let out a sigh of relief as he stepped off the podium. He wasn't sure how much of the Council's approval he had managed to earn, but at least he hadn't started an interstellar incident. That, he considered, was a win. In the grand dining area afterwards, Smith busied himself with sampling some of the exotic finger foods offered by the other species. Most of them tasted nothing like their appearance suggested, which was both a blessing and a curse. As he sipped on an unfamiliar beverage that had the aroma of something faintly metallic, he noticed the room's atmosphere suddenly shift. The gentle hum of conversation died out, replaced by an unnerving silence. He glanced up and saw why. The VAR delegate, Axion, was making his way across the room, his massive frame towering over the other delegates. The red scales that covered his body glinted under the artificial lighting, and his gait, while deliberate, was somewhat hindered by the low gravity aboard the station. Axion's piercing eyes were locked onto Smith as he closed the distance between them. Smith felt a bead of sweat form at his temple. The instructions from his superiors flashed through his mind. Avoid inciting the VAR at all costs. Their sense of honor is unique, and their language is riddled with nuances that can turn a compliment into an insult. Smith struggled to recall the proper VAR greeting protocol, but before he could, Axion spoke first. Hello, Delegate Smith. I am VAR Axion, fourth son of Emperor VAR Noan of the VAR Empire. I would like to discuss terms for a human-VAR cultural exchange. Do you accept? Smith blinked, caught off guard by the straightforwardness of the request. Axion extended a massive clawed hand toward him. For a moment, Smith hesitated. The course on VAR protocol had made it abundantly clear that physical gestures, especially those resembling human handshakes, could be interpreted as aggressive or even a challenge. Yet Axion's tone was calm, and his words, a request for cultural exchange, didn't seem hostile. A request for cultural exchange didn't seem hostile. Smith decided to take the risk. Sure, I'll forward this to my superiors and get someone more specialized to iron out the details. I'm just a retired soldier they sent to avoid risking anyone more valuable. He reached out and took Axion's hand. The VAR's grip was firm, almost crushing, and Smith was about to let go when Axion tightened his hold and pulled him closer. Smith found himself staring into one of Axion's reptilian eyes, the vertical slit of the pupil narrowing as if studying him. Smith held his ground, refusing to be intimidated. He locked eyes with Axion, meeting his gaze with what he hoped was a confident expression. After what felt like an eternity, Axion released him, letting out a low rumble that sounded like boulders grinding together. Retired soldier, huh? I like it, Axion rumbled. I'm a warrior myself. All VAR are to some degree. Service in our clan's armed forces is mandatory, though many only serve the required term. I stayed longer, but I have no interest in the power struggles of my brothers. I prefer to serve my empire in other ways. The throne doesn't interest me. It looks uncomfortable anyway. Smith couldn't help but chuckle, though he quickly turned it into a cough when Axion gave him a curious look. Right. Cold-blooded, I guess? You'd rather a warm rock than a cold throne. Axion nodded, the rumbling noise in his chest growing louder. Precisely. Come, Delegate Smith. Let us retire to a more private chamber. The others will not appreciate our discussion of less intellectual topics. Smith followed Axion, feeling both apprehensive and oddly relieved. The conversation that followed was nothing like he expected. Instead of delicate political negotiations, it was a surprisingly candid exchange of ideas and experiences. Axion, for all his imposing appearance, was disarmingly honest. He spoke of his disdain for the petty rivalries among his kin and his respect for humanity's resourcefulness. He even admitted a fondness for seawater, something Smith found both bizarre and amusing. By the end of the night, the two of them had shared drinks. Axion's preferred whiskey had a kick that left Smith's eyes watering, and swapped stories of military life. Smith couldn't recall most of the details, but whatever happened seemed to have left a positive impression on Axion. When Smith returned to Earth, he was hailed as a diplomatic success, his impromptu handling of the VAR securing both a cultural exchange and the foundation for an alliance. Despite the accolades, Smith couldn't shake a sense of irony. He had gone to the Galactic Council, hoping to avoid causing trouble, yet here he was, now the go-to delegate for all human-VAR interactions. He sighed, half amused and half exasperated. Sometimes, he thought, it might be nice to be an underachiever. Sometimes, he thought, it might be nice to be the underachiever. In the grand, expansive chambers of the Galactic Council, representatives from countless alien civilizations gathered under a canopy of glowing starlights that illuminated the intricate mosaic floor below. The room was alive with a symphony of murmurs, a blend of voices and frequencies unique to each species. Holographic displays shimmered on the walls, showing scenes of distant galaxies and crucial moments in the history of this interstellar assembly. Today, the topic that dominated every conversation was one that had sent ripples across the stars: humanity. At the high central podium, the Zolon representative raised a slender, translucent hand, signaling for silence. This being, towering and ethereal, with skin that shimmered faintly like mist under moonlight, was one of the most respected figures in the council. Its movements exuded calm authority, and its voice, resonating through translation devices, carried the weight of centuries of diplomacy. "Symbols of power," said Mark. As an observer gazing at the noble cluster, he picked up the largest. Slowly, the bustling crowd settled, though an undercurrent of tension lingered, palpable even to the most distant observer. "We convene today," began the Zolon, its voice smooth and deliberate, "to deliberate on a matter of utmost importance: the emergence of humanity. This species, native to the planet known as Terrara, has reached an alarming level of technological and military prowess, raising concerns among our members. For the past couple of decades, the human race has been growing steadily and leaving the very last marks on our historic book of special knowledge. This power has been called upon to deliver warnings of things coming. The fifth species, native to the planet known as Terrara, has reached an alarming level of technological and military prowess, raising concerns among our members." Across the room, the robust and imposing Tar delegate scoffed audibly. A species renowned for its martial culture, the Tar were formidable warriors, their very presence exuding strength. The delegate, clad in ceremonial armor adorned with battle scars, leaned forward, his deep-set eyes narrowing. "Concerns?" he growled, his voice a rumble that resonated through the chamber. "They are mere infants in the cosmos. We have encountered and subdued threats far greater than these upstarts." The Zolon fixed its gaze on the Tar, unflinching. "Do not underestimate their potential. Our reconnaissance missions have reported advancements in human warfare technology that are unprecedented. They may not yet have reached the stars in full force, but their pace of innovation is nothing short of extraordinary." "Fear-mongering," interjected a voice from the other side of the room. The Aviara delegate, a feathered being with iridescent plumage that shifted hues under the chamber's light, ruffled its wings. "Civilizations rise and fall. What makes these humans any different? We've seen countless species flare brightly, only to fade into oblivion. Why should they concern us more than any other?" At the back of the room, Tom Hayes, a human observer, shifted in his seat. Granted special permission to attend, he wore the uniform of Terrara's Global Defense Initiative, a symbol of his planet's commitment to standing among the stars. The lone human in a sea of alien faces, his presence was both a curiosity and a testament to his species' boldness. Rising to his feet, he walked to the central platform, his steps echoing faintly in the now silent chamber. Every eye turned to him, some with curiosity, others with skepticism, and a few with outright hostility. "If I may address the council," Tom began, his voice steady and clear, "I stand here not as a conqueror but as a diplomat. Humanity values peace, yet we will defend our sovereignty as any of you would. We invite you to learn from us, just as we hope to learn from you. Let us find common ground rather than dwell on our differences." The chamber was silent for a moment, the weight of his words hanging in the air. Then, from a seat near the edge, the Zeltron delegate, a being composed of integrated circuits and shimmering light, spoke. Its form flickered slightly, streams of data coursing through its translucent body. "The Zeltron Consortium has studied Terrara's digital archives extensively," it stated, its voice calm and precise. "Also," the Zeltron Consortium said solemnly, it stated, its voice calm and precise, "humans are remarkably adaptive and most notably unpredictable. Their potential for creation and destruction is vast." A grizzled general from the Brain Empire, his face a roadmap of scars from countless battles, leaned forward, his voice gravelly and authoritative carried across the chamber. "Then we are at a crossroads. Do we guide them, control them, or confront them?" Tom's gaze swept the room, meeting the eyes of each representative in turn. "Think of us as allies, not adversaries. Together, we can achieve far more than we ever could alone." The Zolon nodded slowly, its expression contemplative. "This council proposes a period of observation and limited engagement. We must better understand humanity, their intentions, their ambitions, and their dreams." As murmurs of agreement and dissent rippled through the chamber, the council president, an aged and wise Almarian with eyes that seemed to hold the light of distant stars, rose. "Let this be the first of many discussions. We will observe, engage, and prepare. Humanity is now part of our shared galactic future." The meeting adjourned with an air of cautious curiosity. Tom returned to his seat, his heart heavy with the responsibility of representing his entire species. Though humanity was new to the galactic stage, they were determined to take their place among the stars, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. He looked around the surrounding room at the soldiers and the people here, waiting for a meaningful response. Carrie raised a hand, pointing toward the challenges laid ahead. Tom's thoughts were a whirlwind as he left the chamber. The weight of the discussions, the skepticism he had faced, and the enormity of the challenge ahead bore down on him. As he walked through the sprawling corridors of the Galactic Council headquarters, he marveled at the architectural wonder of the place. The walls seemed to shift and shimmer, adapting to the environmental preferences of each species. Arthur blazoned space was a priority consideration, and there was nothing replacing it. Bioluminescent plants grew along some sections, their soft glow offering a sense of tranquility, while other areas were stark and metallic, reflecting the tastes of more technologically inclined species. He entered a side chamber where a holographic display showed a map of the galaxy with key systems highlighted. Terrara, his home, was but a small, faint dot among countless stars. Yet, here he was, standing in the heart of galactic politics, fighting for his people's place in the cosmos. Terrara, he was ready for anything, more than ready to return home to his own planet. He held out his hand to her. The morning sun fell on it. Back on Terrara, the news of the Council's deliberations had ignited intense debates. The Global Defense Initiative headquarters buzzed with activity. Scientists, diplomats, and military strategists pored over data, analyzing every word spoken by the Council members. The public, too, was divided. Some viewed the opportunity for galactic engagement as a beacon of hope, while others feared it might lead to domination or exploitation by more advanced civilizations. In the midst of this, Tom received a secure transmission. It was from the Dran, a species that had thus far maintained a neutral stance in the Council. The message was brief but impactful. Commander Thalys of the Dran scout ship Harbinger requests an audience to discuss potential peaceful relations. Tom's initial reaction was one of caution. The Dran were known for their enigmatic nature, rarely revealing their full intentions, yet this could be a crucial step toward building alliances. After consulting with his advisors, he decided to accept the invitation. The meeting location was carefully chosen, a secluded base on Terrara, far from major population centers, but equipped with state-of-the-art security measures. As the Dran ship descended, its sleek metallic surface reflected the morning light, creating an almost surreal scene. The delegation, led by Commander Thalys, emerged, their tall, graceful forms clad in ceremonial armor that blended elegance with functionality. Their movements were fluid, almost hypnotic, and their expressions, though difficult to read, conveyed a mix of respect and curiosity. "Commander Thalys," Tom greeted, extending a hand. "Welcome to Terrara." Talus grasped his hand firmly. "Mr. Hayes, it is an honor to be here. We come in peace and hope to forge a path of mutual understanding." The formalities gave way to in-depth discussions in a secure conference room. Topics ranged from cultural exchanges to technological collaborations and protocols for peaceful coexistence. General Carter, a seasoned military officer, was direct in his questioning. "Your presence here could be seen as a threat. How do we ensure transparency and trust?" Thalys's response was measured. "We propose joint oversight of any shared technology and open channels for communication. Our primary interest is knowledge and mutual growth, not conflict." The meeting extended late into the night, with both sides presenting their concerns and aspirations. For Tom, it was clear that this was just the beginning of a long and complex journey. The galaxy was vast, its challenges immense, but so too were the opportunities. As he looked out at the night sky, dotted with stars, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. Humanity's future among the stars was uncertain, but it was a future they would shape together, one step at a time. The talks continued with an air of calculated tension, as both sides cautiously sought to understand the other's intentions. Every word exchanged carried weight, every glance measured. The atmosphere in the room shifted suddenly when an aide entered, his hurried whisper to General Carter pulling everyone's attention. Carter's expression hardened as he addressed the room. "We have a situation. One of your soldiers has been caught attempting to breach a restricted area." The room fell silent, the gravity of the statement hanging thickly in the air. All eyes turned to Commander Thalys, whose composed demeanor faltered ever so slightly. "This must be a misunderstanding," Thalys replied, though his voice carried a note of concern. "Explicit orders were given to avoid any independent exploration. We will address this matter internally." Tom Hayes, trying to maintain a fragile balance, interjected. "Let's handle this swiftly. An isolated incident shouldn't define this historic meeting." As the group dispersed to address the issue, the underlying fragility of the burgeoning relationship became apparent. Tom remained with Thalys, the weight of the moment etched on their faces. Both men knew that the promise of peace teetered precariously, one misstep away from collapse. The breach, however minor it seemed, had far-reaching implications. In the confines of a secure meeting room, General Carter, Tom, and a team of advisors reviewed the security footage. The Dran soldier had been captured in a sensitive area housing a key component of Terra's advanced defense systems. The implications were troubling. "It looks deliberate," Carter remarked, his voice grim. Whether Thalys was aware or not, this suggests ulterior motives. Tom rubbed his temples, the weight of his decisions pressing heavily. "We can't let this slide. Showing weakness now could set a dangerous precedent." "Agreed," Carter said, his tone firm. "But escalating to outright conflict should be a last resort." They decided on a measured approach, increasing readiness levels discreetly and enhancing surveillance on the Dran ship. The aim was clear: Demonstrate strength without provoking unnecessary aggression. As night fell, tension escalated further. Radar technicians detected a cluster of unidentified signals approaching from orbit. The screens flickered with movement, the objects descending swiftly. "Commander, we have multiple inbound contacts," a technician reported, his voice tense. "Trajectory indicates major cities as potential targets." Tom and Carter sprinted to the control room. The radar showed a dozen small crafts breaking away from the Dran ship. Their intent was unclear, but ominous. "Deploy interceptors," Tom ordered. "Engage them before they reach civilian airspace." The night sky erupted in chaos. Human interceptors, their engines roaring, met the alien crafts in an uninhabited region to minimize collateral damage. The battle was swift and intense. Terra's technology, honed over decades, gave its pilots a decisive edge. The Dran crafts, while advanced, appeared unprepared for the ferocity of human resistance. One by one, the alien vessels were neutralized, their wreckage scattering across the barren landscape. On the bridge of the Dran ship, Commander Phalis watched the events unfold with mounting horror. "Cease all offensive actions immediately," Phalis commanded, his voice echoing through the ship. The operation had spiraled out of control, but his orders came too late. The human forces, once engaged, were relentless. In the control room, Tom watched the final moments of the skirmish, relief mixed with a deep sense of foreboding. "We need answers," he said firmly. "This can't escalate further." A tense communication followed. Phalis, visibly shaken, expressed his apologies. This was not our intention," he insisted. "There must be rogue elements within my crew. We do not seek war." Tom's skepticism was evident, but he saw an opportunity to salvage the situation. "Stand down," he ordered. "Prepare for a boarding party. We need full transparency." The events of the night reverberated far beyond Terra. News of the skirmish reached the Galactic Council, sparking emergency sessions. Under the harsh glare of emergency lighting, representatives debated the implications of humanity's unexpected military prowess. The Zolan delegate, its shimmering skin reflecting the tension in the room, spoke first. The aggression displayed by humanity was not merely defensive, it was overwhelmingly destructive. This could set a dangerous precedent. The Tar representative, known for their militant culture, countered. "Perhaps this shows that we must approach them with greater caution and respect." "We provoked a response. What did we expect?" Meanwhile, the Zeltron Consortium, beings of light and circuit, called for a strategic reevaluation. Human technology, particularly in warfare, has proven highly advanced. We recommend forming a coalition to share intelligence and prepare for potential expansion of Terra's influence. As the council debated, the seeds of a coalition began to take root. The focus shifted toward containing what many now viewed as a potential threat to galactic peace. Back on Terra, Tom Hayes led a team onto the Dran ship, stepping into the unknown with cautious resolve. In the ship's stark, otherworldly corridors, the tension was palpable. Commander Phalis, his composure strained, greeted them formally. "We propose a joint investigation," Phalis said, his voice steady but tinged with urgency. "Transparency and cooperation are our only paths forward." Tom nodded, his gaze unwavering. "Agreed, but know this, our patience is not infinite." As the Galactic Council continued its deliberations, an urgent message from Terra interrupted. Tom, standing beside Phalis, addressed the assembly via live feed. "Leaders of the Galactic Council," he began, "our actions were defensive, not a declaration of war. We remain committed to peace and dialogue." The chamber fell silent, the weight of his words resonating deeply. Humanity, a newcomer to the galactic stage, had asserted its presence unmistakably. The balance of power had shifted, leaving the galaxy to grapple with the emergence of a formidable new player. As the tension escalated, reports of small skirmish ships probing Terra's defenses poured in. These incursions tested not only Terra's physical fortifications, but also the resolve of its people. Each encounter was met with precision and force, showcasing not only humanity's advanced weaponry, but also their readiness to defend their home at all costs. The skies over Terra crackled with the energy of battle, leaving trails of light and smoke as evidence of the mounting conflict. Suddenly, the main screen in the command center flickered to life, and the image of a serene, almost translucent alien face filled the room. The being's voice was calm, yet each word carried an unmistakable threat. "People of Terra," it began, its tone devoid of emotion, "we are the Galactic Unity. Surrender your arms and submit to our authority, or face the consequences. You have 2 hours to comply." The room fell silent, the weight of the ultimatum pressing down on every soul present. Tom Hayes, standing at the center of the command room, responded immediately. His voice was steady and resolute. "This is Tom Hayes of the Terra Defense. We will not surrender. We are prepared to defend our planet and our sovereignty. I urge you to reconsider your position." His words echoed through the chamber, carrying the determination of an entire planet. As the countdown began, the command center buzzed with activity. Strategists and analysts worked tirelessly to prepare for the inevitable assault. When the deadline expired, the alien fleet launched a full-scale attack. The skies above Terra lit up with the blaze of energy weapons and the roar of engines. Terra's response was swift and devastating. The Manto crews flung themselves against the countdown wall with their last firing spells, causing the entire thing to... Guided by Tom's strategies, the defense platforms unleashed a torrent of firepower that illuminated the night, cutting through the alien ships with deadly precision. The battle was fierce and unforgiving. Terra's forces, under Tom's leadership, exploited every advantage their home provided. The planet's atmosphere and magnetic fields were used to disrupt alien navigation systems, leaving the Coalition fleet vulnerable. Despite the odds, humanity's ingenuity and resourcefulness turned the tide of battle. Alien ships faltered under the relentless assault, their formations breaking as confusion and panic spread among their ranks. Intercepted communications from the Coalition fleet revealed dissent and confusion. Not all members of the Unity supported the invasion. Some factions had been reluctant participants, coerced by the dominant species within the Unity. Recognizing this discord, Tom launched a bold counteroffensive. A series of precise strikes targeted the Coalition's flagship, a symbol of their authority and coordination. The destruction of the flagship was a critical blow, shattering the Coalition's morale and strategic command. As the remnants of the alien armada retreated, Terra stood victorious. The invasion had failed, and humanity had proven its resilience and strength. The cost, however, was evident. Debris from the battle orbited the planet, a stark reminder of the conflict's intensity. Across Terra, there was a mix of triumph and solemnity as people reflected on the sacrifices made. In the weeks following the invasion, Terra's leaders convened to determine their next steps. Tom Hayes, now a central figure in these discussions, pushed for proactive measures. "We've shown that we can defend ourselves," he said during a high-level meeting, "but now it's time to ensure we never have to face such a threat again." He said, "If we never reach that level, we never have to face such a threat again." "Anyway," he continued, "in the meantime, let's define what we can do to avoid a trigger event." He moved on to one more topic. His proposal was ambitious: a network of deep space monitoring stations to detect potential threats and diplomatic missions to rebuild bridges with civilizations coerced into the Coalition. News of Terra's victory spread across the galaxy, altering the interstellar narrative. No longer was humanity seen as a rogue, warlike species. They were now recognized as a formidable power, capable of both defense and diplomacy. Smaller civilizations, impressed by humanity's resolve, began reaching out. These overtures, cautious yet genuine, signaled a shift in galactic dynamics. Commander Thales, who had witnessed humanity's capabilities firsthand, returned to the Galactic Council with a message of caution. "We underestimated them," he admitted during a historic session. "Their technology, their will to survive, and their tactical ingenuity are unparalleled. We must rethink our approach to humanity." 83.1. Anyway, okay, so the last line of that section is, uncertain how to define humanity. At Thales's invitation, Tom Hayes addressed the council via secure transmission. His image, projected in the Grand Chamber, carried the weight of Terra's determination. "Terra does not wish for further conflict," he declared. "We seek peace and mutual respect among the stars. Let this be a new beginning." His words resonated, leaving the council to ponder the implications. At Thales's invitation, Tom Hayes paused, letting his voice rest on the words. At last, the council took a seat. Back on Terra, efforts to fortify and rebuild continued. The construction of the Aegis Array, a network of defensive satellites and monitoring stations, progressed rapidly. Overseen by Tom, the project was a testament to humanity's commitment to both security and cooperation. Each station was designed not only as a shield but also as a beacon for communication and diplomacy. The turning point came when a combined fleet of Terra and its new allies conducted joint maneuvers. Broadcast across the galaxy, the demonstration showcased a coalition built on mutual respect rather than coercion. This display of unity sent a powerful message. Humanity was no longer isolated, but an integral part of the galactic community. As the galaxy adapted to this new reality, Terra's influence grew. Tom Hayes, once a military tactician, found himself increasingly in a diplomatic role. He represented Terra in forums and negotiations, shaping a future built on cooperation and shared aspirations. The Galactic Council, now more inclusive and balanced, officially welcomed Terra as a full member. The decision was met with applause, a sound that symbolized unity and hope. Years later, Tom stood before a memorial dedicated to those who had fallen during the invasion. Around him, children, human and alien alike, played together, their laughter a balm to the scars of war. Beside him, Commander Thales placed a hand on his shoulder. "You once said humanity's true power lies not in its weapons, but in its ability to forge a path forward. You were right, my friend." Together, they looked out over a peaceful Terra, its cities thriving and its skies clear. The challenges of the past had given rise to a future full of potential. Humanity had not only secured its place in the galaxy, but had become a beacon of unity and progress. As the sun set, casting long shadows over the memorial, Tom felt a profound sense of responsibility and hope. The galaxy was watching, and Terra was ready to lead by example into a future as vast and promising as the universe itself. The Galactic Council's chambers, an awe-inspiring assembly of ancient architecture and advanced technology, buzzed with tension. Representatives from every major species in the galaxy, from the amphibious Relcar to the crystalline Solrith, had gathered in response to an emergency of unprecedented scale. A looming threat, unlike anything the galaxy had faced in millennia, now demanded their immediate attention. Turkin, the infamous alien warlord, had turned his attention to a small, seemingly insignificant world, Earth. Known for his ruthless campaigns of conquest, Turkin's empire stretched across star systems, leaving devastation in its wake. His ambition knew no bounds, and his latest target was a planet many in the Council regarded as an afterthought. Yet, to some, Earth held far greater significance than its size or status suggested. Though Earth's inhabitants had only recently ventured onto the galactic stage, humanity's presence had not gone unnoticed. In their brief time among the stars, humans had demonstrated a resilience and adaptability that few other species could match. Despite their technological inferiority, they had shown an uncanny ability to overcome challenges, both on their homeworld and beyond. The Council recognized this potential, but they also understood the precarious situation. If Turkin attacked Earth, it could destabilize the entire region of space, drawing allies and enemies into a conflict that might engulf the galaxy. The chamber's holographic displays projected the image of Turkin's fortress-like capital world, Tehran, alongside real-time footage of his growing fleet. Massive warships, bristling with alien weaponry, were assembling near the edges of his territory, their trajectories unmistakably aimed at Earth. Murmurs rippled through the council as they watched the fleet's preparations, a visual representation of the storm to come. It's what everybody was watching, was the storm to come. It's what the outpost crew absorbed in the water, a lifeline to their homeworld. Tehran was a holographic description of his growing fleet. Massive warships bristling with alien weaponry were assembling near the edges of his territory, their trajectories unmistakably aimed at Earth. Murmurs rippled through the council as they watched the fleet's preparations, a visual representation of the storm to come. Counselor Victra, a veteran diplomat with centuries of experience, rose to address the assembly. Her voice, calm yet resolute, carried an air of authority. Colleagues, we face a critical moment. Humanity, though young and untested, is unlike any species we have encountered. Their creativity and determination could serve as a beacon of hope, or as the spark of chaos if their world falls to Turkin. She paused, allowing her words to sink in. The room fell silent save for the faint hum of the holographic projectors. Turkin underestimates Earth, as he has underestimated others before, yet his arrogance has grown. If we do not act, his next conquest will set a dangerous precedent. The debate that followed was fierce. Some argued that Earth, an underdeveloped world, was not worth risking a galactic conflict. Others countered that allowing Turkin to continue unchecked would only embolden him further. Ultimately, the Council reached a unanimous decision. A delegation would be sent to Tehran to deliver a warning. Earth was not to be touched. Leading the delegation was Counselor Vrax, a figure renowned for his negotiation skills and unshakable resolve. A veteran of countless diplomatic missions, Vrax understood the gravity of their task. As he stood in the council chambers, watching the preparations for their departure, he couldn't shake a sense of unease. Turkin's recent victories had emboldened him, and his empire now spanned more systems than ever before. He couldn't say it was because they were two peoples to battle, but they had underscored diplomacy Vrax feared might no longer be enough. The delegation's journey to Tehran was fraught with tension. The ship's crew, a mix of diplomats and military advisors, worked in hushed tones as they prepared for the upcoming confrontation. Vrax spent hours reviewing Turkin's psychological profile, studying his patterns and decisions. The Warlord's rise to power was marked by cunning strategies and an unrelenting pursuit of dominance. He ruled with an iron fist, commanding loyalty through fear and crushing any opposition with overwhelming force. Upon arriving at Tehran, the delegation was immediately struck by the planet's ominous atmosphere. The sky, tinged with an unnatural crimson hue, seemed to reflect the bloodshed that had secured Turkin's empire. The Warlord's fortress, a towering structure of blackened metal and alien stone, dominated the skyline. Its jagged spires pierced the heavens, casting long shadows over the capital city below. As the delegation's shuttle landed, they were met by a squad of heavily armed soldiers. Their armor, sleek and menacing, shimmered with an otherworldly sheen, and their weapons pulsed with alien energy. The soldiers' faces were obscured by impenetrable helmets, leaving only a sense of cold, unyielding authority. Inside the fortress, the delegation was led through cavernous halls adorned with trophies from Turkin's conquests. Mounted weapons, banners of fallen empires, and relics from obliterated civilizations lined the walls. Each artifact was a testament to Turkin's brutality, a reminder of the fate that awaited those who dared oppose him. Finally, they reached the throne room. The chamber was vast, its ceiling soaring high above. At its center sat Turkin, his massive throne carved from the bones of an extinct species. The Warlord himself was an imposing figure, towering over the delegation. His armor, blackened and scarred from countless battles, seemed to absorb the light around him. His piercing yellow eyes locked onto Vrax as the counselor stepped forward. Turkin's voice, low and menacing, reverberated through the chamber. "You come to deliver another plea for peace, counselor? Spare me your weakness." Vrax steadied himself, meeting Turkin's gaze. "Warlord Turkin, we come not with pleas but with warnings. Earth is not a target you should pursue. Humanity is resilient, unpredictable, and capable of disrupting the delicate balance of power within the galaxy." Turkin scoffed, his lips curling into a cruel smile. "Humans, a primitive species barely capable of space travel? You insult me by suggesting they are a threat. They are unlike any species you have encountered," Vrax countered. "Their adaptability and ingenuity have allowed them to overcome challenges that would have destroyed others. An attack on Earth will not end as you expect." The Warlord leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "I have crushed every species that has dared defy me. Earth will be no different." Vrax's voice remained steady. "You may succeed in attacking Earth, but the cost will be far greater than you realize. Humanity has allies, some within this very council, who will not stand by while you threaten their world." Turkin's laughter echoed through the chamber, a chilling sound that sent shivers down the spines of the delegation. "Allies? Weak bureaucrats and cowards? They will fall just as easily." The meeting ended in failure. As the delegation departed, Vrax sent an encrypted message to the council. "Turkin will not be swayed. Prepare for war." Back on Earth, the news of Turkin's impending invasion spread quickly. Humanity's leaders convened in secret, scrambling to devise a plan. General Alice Munro, one of Earth's foremost strategists, addressed the assembly. "We've faced impossible odds before," she said, her voice firm. "We survived global wars, ecological disasters, and rebuilt after every crisis. This will be no different. We're going to show them what humanity is made of." Earth's military and scientific communities worked tirelessly, developing new technologies and strategies to counter Turkin's forces. Orbital defense platforms armed with railguns and EMPs were positioned strategically, while ground forces prepared for guerrilla warfare. Civilians joined the effort, building barricades and crafting makeshift weapons. Humanity's greatest strength, its creativity and determination, was on full display. Although the stake hung over Turkin's forces, creativity and determination was on full display. As Turkin's fleet approached, a sense of unity and resolve swept across the planet. General Munro, standing in the central command bunker, issued the order. "All units, initiate Phase 1. The battle for Earth had begun." On the ground, General Munro stood amidst the chaos of a battlefield that had become the last stand of humanity. The Earth trembled beneath her feet, the vibrations of alien machinery reverberating through the soil. The air was heavy with the acrid stench of smoke and ozone, and the distant horizon burned with the fires of war. Yet, amidst the chaos, there was a shift, a glimmer of hope. Humanity's forces, bolstered by unyielding resilience and strategic ingenuity, were turning the tide. Munro watched the unfolding scene from the elevated command post, her eyes scanning the holographic displays flickering before her. Each screen told a different story: advancing infantry units overwhelming alien positions, aerial squadrons engaging enemy crafts, and heavy artillery pounding the invaders into retreat. Yet despite these victories, a gnawing unease gripped her. The battle was far from over. "Turkin hasn't made his move," she muttered, her voice low but carrying the weight of urgency. Her staff turned their attention to her, sensing the gravity in her tone. "He's watching, waiting. We need to force his hand. He's too strategic to sit idly by forever." Her thoughts raced. weaving through potential strategies. Turkin was no ordinary commander. His mastery lay in his ability to orchestrate his forces with unerring precision, turning even dire situations to his advantage. If they could disrupt his command structure and compel him to act personally, they might finally gain the upper hand. "Prepare the strike teams," she ordered, her voice cutting through the tension. "We're targeting the flagship. It's time to take this fight to him." The staff exchanged glances, their faces etched with determination and a flicker of fear. The plan was audacious, almost reckless. Yet, in the face of extinction, audacity was humanity's greatest weapon. As the remnants of Earth's armies regrouped, their resolve hardened by fleeting victories, a bold strategy took shape. Special forces units were rapidly mobilized, handpicked for their skill, bravery, and unshakable resolve. These elite teams were equipped with cutting-edge experimental technology, cloaking devices capable of rendering them invisible to most sensors, advanced tactical suits enhancing their physical capabilities, and weaponry designed to exploit weaknesses in alien armor. The target was Turkin's flagship, a colossal vessel that loomed ominously above Earth, casting long shadows over the ruins of its cities. The mission was clear: infiltrate the ship, disable the command center, and eliminate Turkin if possible. Success would decapitate the invasion force and plunge the enemy into disarray. Failure was not an option. Under the cover of darkness, the strike teams boarded sleek, agile crafts designed for stealth and speed. The craft's matte-thick exteriors absorbed light, rendering them nearly invisible as they ascended into the turbulent skies. Inside, the soldiers sat in tense silence, their faces illuminated by the faint glow of mission briefings displayed on their visors. Each of them understood the stakes. Many wouldn't return, but their sacrifice could mean survival for billions. As the crafts approached the flagship, the alien defenses came alive. Beams of energy and bursts of plasma lit up the night sky, a dazzling yet deadly display. The pilots, their hands steady on the controls, executed evasive maneuvers with precision, weaving through the chaos. One craft narrowly avoided a direct hit, the resulting shockwave rattling its hull and eliciting muffled curses from its occupants. "Hold tight," the pilot shouted as the craft veered sharply, angling toward a landing bay on the underbelly of the ship. "Brace for impact." The landing was rough, but the team wasted no time. As the ramp descended, Captain Rios led his squad into the alien stronghold. The air inside was cold and sterile, carrying a faint metallic tang. The corridors were dimly lit, their walls adorned with glowing symbols that pulsed rhythmically, as if the ship itself was alive. "Stay sharp," Rios ordered, his voice low but firm. "We're in enemy territory now." Resistance came quickly. Turkin's elite guards, towering figures clad in armor that seemed impervious to conventional weapons, emerged from the shadows. Their movements were swift and precise, their alien weapons unleashing devastating blasts. The humans responded with calculated efficiency, using their advanced suits to outmaneuver the enemy and their experimental weaponry to exploit chinks in the guards' defenses. Their quick warriors glanced back and forth between the two sides, their alien weapons converging on the guards' defenses. "Keep moving," Rios barked, his pulse rifle spitting bursts of energy that sent one guard crashing to the ground. "We're on a clock here." In his throne room, Turkin observed the battle through a holographic display, his expression unreadable. His clawed fingers drummed against the armrests of his ornate throne, the only sign of his growing impatience. "Prepare my personal guard," he commanded, his voice a low growl. Rising to his full height, his dark armor gleamed under the flickering light of the holograms. "If the humans wish to challenge me, I will grant them their audience." Back on Earth, General Monroe's command center buzzed with activity. Reports of the strike team's progress trickled in, each update heightening the tension. Monroe stood at the center, her hands clenched behind her back, her gaze fixed on the displays. "They're holding them off for now," an officer reported. "But Turkin's personal guard is on the move." Monroe nodded, her jaw tightening. "Tell Rios he needs to finish this. We won't get another chance." Deep within the flagship, Rios and his team approached a massive door, the entrance to the command center. The air was thick with tension, every step weighted by the knowledge of what lay beyond. "Set the charges," Rios ordered. His demolitions expert moved swiftly, placing the devices with practiced precision. Moments later, the door exploded inward, revealing Turkin's throne room. The chamber was vast, its high ceilings and walls adorned with trophies from countless conquests. At its center stood Turkin, an imposing figure whose very presence seemed to command the room. His armor, etched with alien glyphs, radiated an aura of menace. In one hand, he held a massive energy blade, its edge crackling with power. "So, you are the ones who dared defy me," Turkin's voice boomed, resonating through the chamber. "I commend your courage, but it ends here." Rio stepped forward, his weapon trained on the Warlord. "You underestimate us, Turkin. This ends today, not for us, but for you." Turkin's lips curled into a sneer. Bold words for a species on the brink of extinction. With a roar, the Warlord charged, his energy blade slicing through the air with deadly precision. Rios and his team scattered, taking cover behind the pillars and statues that lined the room. The final battle had begun. The clash was brutal and unrelenting. Turkin's strength was overwhelming, his blade carving through obstacles with ease. Yet the humans fought with tenacity, exploiting every weakness they could find. Explosives, energy pulses, and coordinated attacks wore down the Warlord's defenses. Despite his power, cracks began to show. "We need to break his focus," Rio shouted. One of his soldiers, a demolitions expert named Jensen, hurled an experimental device at Turkin's feet. The resulting flash and concussive wave momentarily disoriented the Warlord, giving the team a crucial opening. "Now!" Rios yelled, unleashing a barrage of firepower. The blasts struck Turkin's armor, targeting weak points that began to buckle under the onslaught. The Warlord staggered, his imposing figure faltering for the first time. But even wounded, Turkin was far from defeated. With a guttural roar, he launched a counterattack, his blade narrowly missing Rios by inches. The captain rolled to the side, his suit's servos straining under the sudden movement. "Is this all your species has to offer?" Turkin sneered. "Pathetic." Rios gritted his teeth. "We're not done yet." Activating a hidden feature in his suit, Rios unleashed a high-frequency pulse designed to disrupt energy-based weapons. The pulse rippled through the room, and Turkin's blade flickered before collapsing in a cascade of sparks. For the first time, Turkin hesitated, staring at his now useless weapon. Rios didn't waste the opportunity. With a final shot, he aimed for the exposed section of Turkin's armor. The blast struck true, sending the Warlord crashing into his throne. On the surface, Monroe received the signal she had been waiting for. "Turkin is down," came Rios's voice, weary but victorious. Relief washed over her, but she knew the battle wasn't over yet. "Now get out of there," she ordered. As Rios and his team made their escape, the Galactic Council watched the events unfold in stunned silence. Turkin, the Warlord who had terrorized countless worlds, had been defeated by a species they had once dismissed. Humanity had not only survived, but emerged stronger, proving that even the smallest spark could ignite a fire capable of reshaping the galaxy. Earth had won its battle, but the war for its future was just beginning. The aftermath of the conflict rippled through the planet and the galaxy beyond, leaving a trail of questions, fears, and possibilities in its wake. Humanity, battered but unbroken, now stood on the precipice of a new era. Elsewhere on Earth, in the heart of the capital city, Captain Rice and his team were being hailed as heroes. The media had already begun broadcasting their faces across the globe, telling the story of how a single strike team had infiltrated Turkin's flagship and brought the Warlord to his knees. News anchors and reporters described their mission in vivid detail, painting them as symbols of humanity's resilience and courage. But for Rice, glory and recognition were the furthest things from his mind. He sat alone in a quiet corner of the military barracks, the chaos of celebration muffled by the walls. His mind replayed the final moments of the battle with Turkin, the warlord's sneer, the sheer weight of his blade crashing down, the ferocity of the fight. The fact that they had succeeded still felt surreal, like a dream teetering on the edge of becoming a nightmare. "Hey!" a familiar voice called, breaking through his thoughts. It was Jensen, the demolitions expert who had played a pivotal role in disabling Turkin's guards. The man's rugged face bore a rare softness as he approached Rice, his helmet tucked under one arm. You all right?" Royce nodded slowly. "Yeah, just processing it all." Jensen dropped into the seat beside him, letting his helmet rest on the table. "We took down the biggest warlord in the galaxy, Rice. That's something most people won't ever understand." "Yeah," Rice replied, his voice subdued. "But what comes next? Turkin's gone, but his empire's still out there. There will be other threats." Jensen shrugged. "Maybe, but after what we pulled off, I think the galaxy's gonna think twice before messing with us again." Royce smirked faintly. "Let's hope you're right." Meanwhile, in the Galactic Council's chambers, the aftermath of Turkin's defeat was the subject of heated debate. Representatives from various species argued over the implications of the power shift. Without Turkin to unite them, his warlords would carve up his empire, some said, creating chaos that could spill into neighboring territories. Others countered that the chaos could be an opportunity to stabilize the region, starting with Earth. "The people have shown strength," one counselor argued, "but they are vulnerable now. We must offer them protection." Vrax, the stoic and calculated representative of a species renowned for its diplomacy, listened to the discussions with measured calm. Yet his thoughts were already elsewhere. He knew Turkin's death was just the first domino to fall. The galaxy had changed irrevocably, and Earth's emergence as a new power was a pivotal moment. Humanity's unpredictability and resourcefulness made them both an asset and a potential threat. Alter was scheduled for delivery that following morning. He was the last person aboard the threat to ventilator -4.5, separating the two homelands for more than a year, planting the so-called Writers' Rebellion there in the first design. If nurtured correctly, they could rise to become one of the galaxy's greatest strengths. Mishandled, they could ignite a conflict greater than Turkin's empire ever had. As the debate swirled around him, Vrax made a decision. He would personally oversee diplomatic efforts with Earth. Humanity needed guidance, and the galaxy needed assurance. But more than that, Vrax sensed that humanity's role in the cosmos was only beginning. Their unity, forged in the fires of war, was something rare and precious, something that could shape the galaxy for centuries to come. On Earth, reconstruction was already underway. Cities were being rebuilt, and the scars of invasion were slowly beginning to heal. Across the planet, monuments rose in honor of those who had fought and fallen. The war had brought humanity together in ways previously thought impossible, transcending borders, politics, and old rivalries. For the first time in its history, Earth was united under a common cause. Every day, I became more excited under a common cause. General Monroe, a steadfast leader who had orchestrated much of humanity's defense, stood at the center of one such monument. She watched as crowds gathered to pay their respects, their faces a mix of sorrow and determination. Ceremonies had never been Monroe's style, but this one felt different. It wasn't just a victory celebration. It was a reminder of survival, resilience, and transformation. Wherever this planet had been, the repair work was already underway. Resilience and transformation. As she walked away from the gathering, her thoughts turned to the future. Earth had won the battle, but now came the challenge of securing its place in the galaxy. Monroe knew humanity couldn't do it alone. They needed allies and a strategy to adapt quickly to the complex realities of galactic politics. If there was one thing Monroe had learned from the war, it was that humanity was capable of far more than anyone had ever imagined. Weeks passed, and Earth continued to rebuild, both its cities and its alliances. The Galactic Council's involvement ensured Earth's integration into the interstellar community was smooth, but it also brought new challenges. Turkin's vast empire had splintered, with former warlords vying for power. The resulting instability threatened to ignite conflicts that could drag Earth back into war. Vrax, now Earth's primary diplomatic liaison, worked tirelessly with Monroe and global leaders. His visits to Earth became frequent, and his calm, methodical demeanor brought a sense of clarity to every strategic meeting. "We must prepare for what comes next," Vrax said during one such meeting. "Turkin is gone, but his warlords are scattered. Some will seek alliances, while others will seek revenge." Monroe stood by a large window in the newly rebuilt command center, overlooking the capital's skyline. The city still bore the marks of battle, but its resilience was unmistakable. She turned to Vrax, her gaze sharp. "What do you suggest?" "We need to consolidate Earth's new position," Vrax replied. "The Council sees great potential in your people, but to secure your place, you'll need allies beyond the Council. There are factions out there who fear what Turkin represented. They will look to Earth for leadership." Monroe nodded, her expression resolute. "We can't let this opportunity slip by. Earth's survival isn't just about defense anymore. It's about ensuring we're never in that position again." Beyond Earth's atmosphere, the galaxy was watching. Turkin's warlords had begun to regroup, with whispers of retaliation growing louder. Among them, a new leader emerged, Dren, one of Turkin's most ruthless generals. Clad in battle-scarred armor, Dren's fury burned brighter than any star. He had served Turkin loyally and saw humanity's victory as an unforgivable insult. On a barren planet far from trade routes, Dren convened with other warlords in a shadowy chamber. His voice thundered as he slammed a gauntleted fist onto the table. "We will strike back. Turk's death must be avenged, and Earth will pay for its arrogance." "Arrogance is hell," the Old One called, before rising to his feet. "For Earth will pay for its arrogance." The warlords murmured in agreement, though hesitation lingered in their eyes. "The humans are not like the other species we've conquered," one cautioned. "Their unpredictability makes them dangerous." Dren sneered. "That is why we will not face them head-on. We will strike where they are weakest. Earth is still rebuilding. We will exploit their vulnerabilities and crush them when the time is right." Back on Earth, intelligence reports of Dren's movements began to trickle in. General Monroe and Captain Rice, now hailed as Earth's greatest heroes, were called upon once more. "We've beaten Turkin," Monroe said during a briefing, "but Dren is different. He won't make the same mistakes. He'll come at us from the shadows." Royce nodded. "Then we need to take the fight to him. Waiting for him to strike first isn't an option." A new strategy was devised. With advanced reconnaissance technology from their allies, Earth's forces pinpointed Dren's hidden bases. The operation was swift and decisive. Captain Rice led the assault, his team once again at the forefront. The final confrontation was fierce, but Earth's forces, hardened by their experiences, prevailed. Dren, defiant until the end, fell in battle, his ambitions shattered. In the aftermath, the Galactic Council formally recognized Earth as a central power in the galaxy. Humanity, once isolated and underestimated, had proven its worth. General Monroe, Captain Rice, and their teams were celebrated, but for them, the victory was about more than recognition. It was about securing Earth's future. In a ceremony beneath the same skies once filled with enemy ships, Monroe addressed the planet and its allies. "We've shown the galaxy what humanity is capable of. When we stand together, there's nothing we can't overcome." As the stars lit up the evening sky, Earth stood united, ready to rise even higher. "All right, everyone, settle down. I have an announcement to make." Mr. Kiro's voice echoed through the classroom, instantly drawing the students' attention. Normally, his lessons started with a quiet intensity, diving directly into complex topics. But today, something was different. His tone carried an unusual weight, and his sharp gaze scanned the room as if to ensure no one missed what he was about to say. "I hear both of you. Who are you waiting on? Top Prince Gar?" If it's what you're looking for. The quiet that followed his words was almost unnatural, a stark contrast to the usual hum of whispered conversations and rustling papers. Even the soft hum of the atmospheric regulators seemed to fade into the background. The two boys stared in silence. Mr. Taro was an Elin, a species known for their towering height and ethereal grace. Standing at an imposing 8 feet, he was a striking figure even among the diverse array of beings at the Institute. His long, slender limbs moved with a calculated precision, and his tall antlers gave him an almost regal presence. The intricate patterns etched into his silvery fur shimmered faintly under the ambient lights, subtly shifting with his movements. Despite the predatory alignment of his forward-facing eyes, the Alan were a prey species, their sharp features a deceptive evolutionary quirk. Today, however, there was a hint of unease in his usually calm demeanor. His 3-fingered hands rested on the desk, their slight tremble betraying his own apprehension. The weight of his responsibility as a teacher was palpable. I assume you've all heard about the newest addition to the Galactic Council, the humans, he began. His voice carried a tone of measured authority, but the underlying tension did not go unnoticed. The room erupted into murmurs. Students turned to one another, exchanging wide-eyed glances and hurried whispers. The mention of humans always elicited strong reactions, and today was no exception. For weeks, news about this mysterious species had dominated the intergalactic broadcasts. The humans, newcomers to the council, were already infamous. They were labeled Deathworlders, a term that sent chills through most sentient beings. To fully understand their fear, one had to consider the origins of these students. Each hailed from planets that could only be described as paradises. Serene environments with mild climates, abundant resources, and a harmonious balance between flora and fauna. Their biomes were delicately balanced ecosystems where danger was a distant concept. The very idea of intelligent life emerging from a hostile, dangerous world was inconceivable to them. Until the humans appeared. One student, Athalia, hesitantly raised her hand. Her shimmering blue scales glinted under the soft classroom lights, a hallmark of her aquatic race. Her large, finned ears twitched nervously, catching every whisper in the room. Athalia rarely spoke out of turn, and when she did, it was usually with a mix of curiosity and caution. Her thin, translucent fingers clutched the edge of her desk tightly. "Mr. Kiro," she began, her voice barely above a whisper, "is it true? Do humans really come from a death world?" Mr. Kiro nodded solemnly. "Yes, Athala. From all available evidence, humans are the only sentient species ever discovered to have originated on a death world." A ripple of gasps swept through the room. Students shifted uncomfortably in their seats, their expressions ranging from disbelief to outright fear. Even the room's environmental controls, designed to maintain a calm atmosphere, couldn't quell the rising tension. "Now," Mr. Kiro continued, stepping forward and clasping his hands behind his back, "can anyone here explain what qualifies a planet as a death world?" "Electromagnetic, of course, podium," the doctor said. The class hesitated, their earlier chatter now replaced by a heavy silence. Finally, a student at the back, known for their encyclopedic knowledge, raised their hand. Their voice was steady as they answered. "A death world is a planet deemed hostile to sentient life due to extreme environmental factors. These may include frequent natural disasters, toxic plant life, severe temperature fluctuations, or an abundance of aggressive predators. Most death worlds possess only one of these traits, which is enough to make them rare. Planets with multiple such dangers are considered exceedingly uncommon, if not impossible." "That's correct," Mr. Kiro said, nodding appreciatively. "Death worlds are anomalies, even within the vast expanse of the galaxy. And yet, humanity has emerged from one such place." By the time Diana exited her class, the sun was already setting, casting golden hues across the futuristic cityscape. Her new alien teacher, Mr. Karos, had spent the entire day discussing human history. Though fascinated, he was overwhelmed by the sheer complexity and violence humans had endured throughout their evolution. Diana carried a digital tablet loaded with files exchanged between her and Mr. Karos, including Galactic and human histories. David had leapt up ready to go to play. As Diana walked to her dorm, she marveled at the vast corridors of the Galactic school. The hallways were adorned with floating holographic signs and alien architecture, blending different species' designs. Her thoughts drifted to the files she had just received, particularly the history of the alien species, who had unified millennia ago without wars or conflicts, a stark contrast to humanity. When Diana finally reached her dorm, she was astonished by its size and design. The shared living space included a cozy common area with imported Earth furniture labeled with tags from Earth stores. A computerized voice greeted her, announcing that gravity simulators were returning to Earth norms. Instantly, she felt the familiar pull of her home planet's gravity. Testing the gravity, Diana jumped lightly, laughing at the sensation of home. Just then, a fellow human, Tyler, exited the kitchen, munching on a bag of chips. Look who's here," he exclaimed with a grin. Their banter filled the room as Diana explained her day and the peculiarities of alien life she had observed. The conversation turned to the peculiarities of the Galactic Federation. Diana recounted how her history teacher struggled to understand human wars, natural disasters, and resilience. Tyler shared tales of their classmates' shocking alien teachers with Earth's sports and culinary habits, drawing laughter and disbelief. Later that evening, Diana reviewed the files exchanged with Mr. Karos. The galactic histories were filled with tales of unity and peace, in stark contrast to Earth's turbulent past. Meanwhile, Mr. Karos, in his study, struggled to process Earth's violent and chaotic history, questioning how humans could thrive under such conditions. The next morning, Diana's first class was physical education. The gym was enormous, equipped with advanced training machines designed for multiple species. Here. And the alien instructor, Mr. Coker, greeted the class with confidence, challenging them to prove themselves, especially the humans. Diana smirked, ready to show what Earthlings could do. The headmaster, walking away from Mr. Caro's office, couldn't help but chuckle at his old friend's exasperation. Passing through the school's central atrium, he observed students from various species gathering, their diverse forms a testament to the Galactic Federation's unity. We're dying and fighting, yet the humans' physical prowess seemed to draw furtive glances and whispers. Some students dared to approach the humans, their curiosity outweighing their apprehension, while others observed from a safe distance, clearly unnerved by the stories circulating about the Death Worlders. One while, Diana and Tyler, still amused from their gym class antics, made their way to the cafeteria. The journey revealed the school's intricate design, long hallways lined with glowing panels that shifted colors subtly as they passed, windows that displayed breathtaking views of a distant nebula, and doors that slid open silently to reveal advanced communal spaces. As they reached the cafeteria, the smell of intergalactic cuisine greeted them, blending alien aromas with familiar hints of Earth's spices. The cafeteria was abuzz with chatter as Diana and Tyler joined their fellow humans at a table. Conversations ranged from recounting the day's events to speculating about their impact on the school. A large reptilian alien approached hesitantly, holding a tray of food that shimmered like liquid crystal. It addressed Diana, its voice guttural but polite, asking if it could join them. The humans exchanged glances before welcoming it, with warm smiles, breaking the tension and sparking a surprising camaraderie. As the humans and the reptilian alien exchanged stories, laughter began to fill their corner of the cafeteria. Tyler shared an exaggerated account of the gym class, mimicking Mr. Coker's expressions, which left everyone, human and alien alike, in stitches. The reptilian alien introduced itself as Zara, explaining its fascination with Earth's history and its desire to understand the humans better. Diana, intrigued by Zara's genuine curiosity, promised to share stories and resources about Earth, marking the start of an unexpected friendship. After their meal, Diana and Tyler headed to the school's library, a colossal dome-shaped structure filled with endless rows of holographic shelves. I'm so excited to join you and play some games. I have so many songs. They walked, the hum of the anti-gravity lifts echoed softly, carrying students to different sections of the library. Diana's school-issued tablet displayed a map to the human history section, where they hoped to find records for their upcoming projects. The air buzzed with a mix of curiosity and knowledge, the library's environment both serene and inspiring. Reaching the human history section, Diana and Tyler were surprised to see it already occupied. Mr. Caro was there, poring over a holographic display of Earth's geological disasters. He looked up, startled, when the pair approached, quickly hiding his astonishment at seeing students so interested in their own history. Tyler grinned, asking if Mr. Caro had recovered from the shock of learning about Earth's tornadoes. The trio soon fell into a discussion, the teacher's genuine interest matching the students' enthusiasm. Tyler and Diana couldn't help but laugh as they reached the cafeteria. The scent of food filled the air, though it was unlike anything they had ever smelled on Earth. Alien dishes lined the serving counters, gelatinous cubes that shimmered with a faint glow, bright purple fruits that seemed to hum softly, and steaming soups in colors they couldn't even describe. The humans exchanged amused glances as Tyler whispered, "Do you think it's edible?" Diana chuckled, replying, "Only one way to find out." Picking a tray each, they cautiously moved down the line, selecting items that looked the least intimidating. As Diana reached for a glowing blue sphere, an alien server behind the counter warned her, "That one's a bit spicy for your kind." She paused, then shrugged and placed it on her tray. Tyler chose a steaming dish that resembled noodles, though they were bright green and emitted a faint steam. The alien server smirked, saying, "Good luck with that one." They found a table near the corner and sat down, examining their choices. Diana poked at the blue sphere with her fork, watching it wobble. Tyler leaned closer, whispering, "If it moves, I'm leaving." She smirked and took a small bite, her face contorted for a moment. Then she grinned. "It's like spicy candy," she said. Tyler cautiously tried his dish, only to find it shockingly sweet. "I don't think this is supposed to taste like dessert," he muttered. As they ate, an alien from a nearby table turned toward them, its four eyes blinking in curiosity. Its elongated fingers clasped a crystalline cup, as it said in a melodic tone, "You are the Earth Dwellers, yes?" "I have heard fascinating things about your species." Tyler and Diana exchanged a glance, then nodded cautiously. "I hope they're good things," Diana replied. The alien tilted its head, emitting a soft hum. "Intriguing, yes. Dangerous, very. But good? That depends." Its statement left them both slightly uneasy, but the alien smiled in what they assumed was reassurance before turning back to its meal. Finishing their meals, Diana and Tyler decided to explore the rest of the campus. The corridors were wide, with walls that seemed to shimmer as if alive. Along the way, they passed holographic displays, showing the day's schedule and announcements, as well as alien students bustling to their next classes. One display caught Diana's eye. It was a hologram depicting Earth from space, with captions in an alien script. "Looks like we're the stars of the show," she muttered, motioning for Tyler to look. Huh? Eventually, they stumbled upon the campus library. "Don't you want to read?" The vast space was filled with towering shelves of crystalline data cubes, each glowing faintly in different colors. A central holographic terminal projected a rotating galaxy in the air, where students could search for information. Diana stepped closer, mesmerized by the sheer scale of it all. "This makes Earth libraries look like corner stores," she said, her voice filled with awe. Tyler nodded, running his fingers over the smooth surface of a data cube. "And probably has a lot fewer late fees." As they explored the library, a small floating robot zipped over to them, its spherical body emitting a soft hum. "New students detected. How may I assist you?" it chirped. Diana raised an eyebrow. Does it have a search function?" she asked Tyler, who shrugged. She turned back to the robot. "We're just looking around for now." The robot blinked, its single light flickering, and hovered closer. "Exploration mode activated. I will provide guided assistance." Tyler muttered, "I guess we've got a tour guide now?" The robot led them through the library, pointing out sections dedicated to different species and their histories. Rissa snatched up the last panel. One area was specifically labeled Human Archives, which caught their attention. The shelves there held digital tablets with summaries of Earth's history. Diana picked one up, scrolling through the content. "Looks like they've already documented most of our major events." "Huh," she said. Tyler leaned over her shoulder. "They've even included stuff about pop culture. Who knew aliens were into 20th century movies?" "Ah," Diana smirked. "Maybe they think we're more entertaining than we give ourselves credit for." As they exited the library, they found themselves in an open courtyard. The sky above was a kaleidoscope of colors, shifting as two suns began to set. Alien flora surrounded the area, with plants that shimmered and pulsed with bioluminescence. Students of various species mingled, some floating, others walking, and a few gliding effortlessly. Tyler pointed to a tree-like structure that seemed to grow crystals instead of leaves. Tyler linked a hand in my direction and said, "Hear those? I also have castramental darts." "Now that's something you don't see on Earth," he said. Diana nodded, captivated by the surreal beauty of their new environment. As the evening progressed, Diana and Tyler found a quiet spot near a glowing pond that reflected the colorful sky. She got up from her knees to give him her hand. The water seemed alive, shifting and rippling, even without wind. They sat on a smooth stone bench, discussing their day. "It's insane how much we're learning in just a few hours," Diana said, staring at the ripples. Tyler nodded, tossing a small stone into the pond and watching it dissolve into shimmering particles. "Yeah, but it's also kind of overwhelming. Feels like we're carrying the weight of representing Earth." Diana smiled. "No pressure, right?" Suddenly, a commotion drew their attention. A group of alien students was gathered near a towering sculpture that emitted soft light. Curious, Diana and Tyler approached. It seemed to be an interactive art piece with glowing panels that responded to touch, creating melodies and visual patterns. One alien demonstrated by touching a panel, causing a cascade of light and sound to ripple through the sculpture. Tyler couldn't resist and reached out, his touch resulting in a completely different pattern. The aliens looked impressed, clapping their appendages in approval. After the impromptu art session, Diana and Tyler decided to head back to their dorm. The hallways were quieter now, with only a few students lingering. They passed a cleaning drone methodically polishing the floor, its soft whirring echoing through the corridor. "It's strange how quickly this place is starting to feel normal," Tyler said. Diana chuckled. "Normal? We're living on a campus in the middle of the galaxy with aliens who think tornadoes are myths." Tyler grinned. "Okay, maybe not normal, but it's starting to feel like home." When they arrived at their dorm, the room felt more familiar than before. The Earth-imported furniture, labeled and priced, had begun to blend into their new reality. Diana placed her tablet on the desk and stretched. "Today felt like a week," she said, flopping onto the couch. Tyler grabbed a snack from the kitchen, shaking a bag of chips as he walked into the room. "And we're doing it all again tomorrow," he said, smirking. Diana threw a pillow at him, laughing. "Not before I get some sleep." Um, he caught it and shrugged. Suit yourself, but I'm staying up to test the Wi-Fi. Later that night, Diana lay in her bed staring at the ceiling. The artificial gravity felt natural, but her mind raced with thoughts of the day. She replayed the events, the library, the gym, the conversations. It was surreal to think she was part of something so vast and unknown. Outside the window, stars shimmered like a cosmic painting. A soft hum from the dorm systems added to the tranquility. Eventually, her thoughts settled and she drifted off. The weight of the galaxy momentarily lifted. While Deanna slept, Mr. Koss sat in his office, poring over the human history files she had given him. His expression was a mix of awe and disbelief as he read about Earth's natural disasters, wars, and scientific achievements. The holographic display in front of him projected images of Earth, hurricanes swirling with deadly beauty, volcanoes erupting with fiery force, and bustling cities lit up at night. How did they survive this? He muttered to himself, shaking his head. You have them people rogues. How do you mean? The more he learned about humans, the more questions he had. In another part of the campus, the headmaster stood on a balcony, gazing at the glowing cityscape below. The twin moons cast a soft light over the sprawling buildings, their alien architecture glinting like jewels. He held a small device scrolling through a summary of human dietary habits. Capsaicin and caffeine, he mused aloud, shaking his head in amusement. What a peculiar species. The device displayed a warning about capsaicin's effects on other species, but the headmaster only chuckled, intrigued by humanity's resilience and quirks. The next morning, Diana woke up to the sound of the gravity simulator adjusting. She stretched and groggily walked to the window, where the campus came alive under the morning light. Students of all species were bustling about, some carrying holographic tablets, others chatting in groups. Tyler knocked on her door, already dressed. Rise and shine, we've got another day of impressing the galaxy, he said with a grin. Diana sighed, shaking off her sleepiness. Let's just hope today is a bit less overwhelming. Walking through the campus, Diana and Tyler were surrounded by students from dozens of species. The pathways were lined with holographic signs and floating advertisements in alien languages. They passed a group of insectoid students, chatting in clicks and chirps, while a towering reptilian alien carefully navigated the crowd. Tyler nudged Diana. Bet none of them can beat us at dodgeball, he joked. Diana smirked, but her attention was drawn to a nearby fountain, where a group of bird-like aliens practiced some kind of synchronized movement, their wings fluttering in unison, like a living work of art. In their first class of the day, the students were introduced to the Galactic Federation's approach to environmental science. The instructor, a gelatinous alien with shifting colors, used holograms to explain the intricacies of galactic ecosystems. Deanna took detailed notes, fascinated by how different the other species' planets were from Earth. Tyler, on the other hand, leaned back, doodling a spaceship battle in his notebook. At one point, the instructor paused and asked the humans about Earth's unique environmental challenges. Diana hesitated before describing hurricanes and wildfires, drawing gasps from her classmates. After class, Diana and Tyler headed to the cafeteria, where the aroma of alien foods filled the air. The counters were lined with dishes glowing in various colors, and students carefully balanced their trays, avoiding collisions. Tyler pointed out a bright green soup that looked like it was alive. "Want to try it?" he teased. Diana bit her gasp before replying. "Want to try it?" he teased. Diana shook her head. "I'll stick to something recognizable." They finally found a table and sat down, their trays filled with a mix of Earth-imported and alien food. Diana picked at a dish that tasted like spiced clouds, while Tyler enthusiastically dug into something crunchy and glowing. While eating, Diana overheard a group of alien students discussing their upcoming sports competition. One of them, a tall, crystalline being, was excitedly explaining the rules of a gravity-based relay race. Curious, Diana leaned over. "Can humans join?" she asked. The aliens exchanged glances before nodding. "It will be interesting to see how you handle the gravity shifts," one said with a hint of challenge. Diana grinned. "Let's find out." Tyler raised an eyebrow. "You're volunteering us now?" he asked, laughing. Diana shrugged. "Why not? We might as well show them what Earthlings can do." That evening, Diana and Tyler made their way to the training field, where the relay race was set to take place. The field was a marvel of alien engineering with glowing tracks that adjusted their gravitational pull in real time. Teams of various species were warming up, their movements fluid and adapted to the unique conditions. Diana stretched, observing the competition. Tyler adjusted his shoes, smirking. "Think they're ready for us?" he asked. Diana smirked back. "Ready or not, here we come." The announcement system buzzed, signaling the start of the event. The first round of the relay race began, and Diana quickly realized the challenge. The track shifted gravity zones mid-run, causing some competitors to stumble or leap into the air unexpectedly. Diana, however, adapted quickly, her Earth-honed reflexes giving her an edge. Tyler followed closely behind, dodging an alien who tripped and rolled into the side barriers. The crystalline competitor from earlier was keeping pace, their lithe movements gliding over the shifting gravity with ease. As Diana approached the baton handoff point, she noticed Tyler grinning behind her. "Keep up," she called, laughing as she surged forward. During the handoff, Diana smoothly passed the baton to a teammate, a muscular alien with 3 legs, who took off at incredible speed. Tyler cheered from the sidelines, his voice lost in the roar of the crowd. The next human participant was up, and they leaped onto the track with a burst of speed, keeping the team in the lead. The alien audience murmured in amazement at the humans' resilience and adaptability. By the final lap, it was clear that the humans and their mixed species team were giving everyone a run for their money, their determination shining brightly. The final moments of the relay race were electrifying. The last part of the relay race, the requirement is very high. Hey, we're gonna have to teach you not to think of the... Diana, back on the track for the last lap, gave it her all. Her legs pumped like pistons, and the gravitational shifts seemed to barely faze her. The crystalline competitor surged forward, trying to overtake her in the final stretch. The crowd erupted in cheers as the two raced neck and neck, their forms blurs of motion under the lights. With a final burst of energy, Diana crossed the finish line, her teammates celebrating wildly. The crystalline alien approached her, nodding in respect. "Impressive," they said. Diana grinned. "You too." After the race, Diana and Tyler stood with their team, basking in the excitement. Their alien teammates congratulated them, sharing high fives and handshakes. The crystalline alien from earlier joined them, offering a glowing drink that shimmered like liquid stardust. "We're a toast to a race well run," they said. Diana and Tyler accepted, laughing as they sipped the strange beverage. The flavor was unlike anything they'd tasted, a mix of sweetness and fizz that left a warm glow in their chests. For a moment, all the differences between species faded, replaced by the shared joy of a hard-earned victory. The celebration continued as the team moved to the cafeteria, a sprawling area filled with species from across the galaxy. Part halfway through the meal, his fancy dinner, Diana handed Tyler her food. The food counters showcased a stunning array of dishes, from glowing fruits to steaming plates of vibrant, otherworldly stews. Diana picked up a plate with what looked like a blue pasta that shimmered under the lights. Tyler, meanwhile, stared at a wriggling, tentacle-like delicacy with a mix of curiosity and hesitation. "You first," he joked, nudging Diana. They laughed as they tried the exotic foods, some of which were surprisingly delicious, while others had them making exaggerated faces of disgust. As they ate, a small alien with an insectoid appearance approached their table. Its large, expressive eyes blinked nervously as it extended a clawed hand. That was, inspiring, it said in a buzzing voice. Diana smiled and shook its hand, while Tyler offered a fist bump, which the alien mimicked awkwardly. They invited the alien to sit with them, and soon they were exchanging stories about their worlds. Finally, they were safely muzzing in at Alola, and it gave it the password to check out the game. The insectoid alien described its home planet, where towering crystalline forests reflected rainbows under twin suns. Tyler and Diana listened, captivated, as they shared details about Earth's diverse landscapes in return. Later that evening, Diana returned to the dorm, her head buzzing with the day's events. The living room was softly lit, and Tyler was sprawled on the couch, scrolling through a holographic interface. Checking the race highlights? Diana teased as she flopped into an armchair. Of course, Tyler replied, grinning. They replayed clips of the relay race, laughing at some of the competitors' expressions during the shifting gravity zones. Just as they were about to call it a night, the dorm's communication system pinged. Diana opened it to see a message from Mr. Kiro. Be ready for tomorrow's history lessons. Barton laughing as he inspected his manufacturing equipment. He's stretching out his arms back to his feet as he wenched about his frame. Bring snacks. The next morning, Deanna prepared for the day's classes with a mix of anticipation and curiosity. History with Mr. Kiro was always unpredictable, and the mention of snacks had her wondering what he had planned. She packed a few energy bars from Earth into her bag, alongside her tablet loaded with human history files. Tyler joined her at the dorm door, holding a steaming cup of Earth-imported coffee. Deanna, said Tyler tentatively, ready for another day of being humanity's ambassador? He joked. Diana laughed. As long as it doesn't involve more questions about earthquakes. Together they headed out into the bustling school corridors. Talking to class, Diana and Tyler couldn't help but notice the growing attention they were getting. Alien students whispered and pointed, their eyes filled with a mix of awe and curiosity. Looks like the race made us famous, Tyler said, gesturing to a group of insectoid students who quickly averted their gaze. Diana shrugged. Better than infamous. Your planet is the only one with active plate tectonics, he declared, zooming in on a hologram of a shifting fault line. The alien students gasped as he described the creation of mountains, earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions. Diana raised her hand. Actually, we also use these forces to generate geothermal energy, she added. I looked at her, staring in silence. Ugh. The class murmured in amazement. Tyler chimed in. And we've even climbed these mountains, like Mount Everest. At that, Mr. Kiro nearly dropped his holographic pointer. You climbed a Death World mountain willingly? Climbing Everest is seen as one of humanity's greatest challenges, Diana explained. Pulling up a photo of mountaineers on her tablet, the alien students leaned closer, their eyes wide with disbelief. Why would anyone risk their lives for that? One student asked. Diana shrugged. For the thrill, the challenge, and the view. Mr. Kiro shook his head, muttering something about madness. As the lesson continued, he displayed images of other extreme environments on Earth. From the scorching deserts to the icy tundras, each description left the aliens more incredulous. But it was clear they were fascinated by humanity's resilience. Later that day, Diana and Tyler visited the school's library to prepare for the upcoming lesson. The library was a massive, dome-shaped structure filled with floating shelves of glowing data crystals. Diana found a section labeled Intergalactic Fauna and started browsing through vivid holograms of alien wildlife. Tyler, meanwhile, uploaded files about Earth's predators to the school system. Do you think they're ready for lions and sharks? He asked, grinning. Diana smirked. After today, I think they can handle it. Huh? Maybe. They spent hours curating a mix of awe-inspiring and terrifying examples, eager to see the aliens' reactions tomorrow. The next morning, the class was abuzz with anticipation as Mr. Kiro began the lesson on Earth's wildlife. He started with gentle creatures, like deer and dolphins, eliciting delighted murmurs. Sorry, Diana. But when images of lions, wolves, and sharks appeared, the atmosphere shifted. These predators are apex hunters, Mr. Kiro explained, as the hologram displayed a lion roaring. The alien students leaned back, visibly uneasy. One whispered, "How do humans coexist with such creatures?" Tyler raised a hand. "We don't always. Sometimes we have to protect ourselves." The aliens exchanged nervous glances, clearly struggling to comprehend Earth's dangerous balance of life. As the lesson progressed, Mr. Kiro showcased more of Earth's predators, including eagles, snakes, and even crocodiles. The alien students were captivated, but visibly unsettled. "And yet, humans thrive alongside these creatures?" one student asked incredulously. Diana nodded. "We respect them and learn to adapt." Tyler added, "Sometimes we study their behaviors to improve our own technology." Mr. Kiro then brought up the concept of domestication, showing holograms of dogs, cats, and horses. This sparked a wave of curiosity, with students eagerly asking about how humanity managed to turn wild animals into companions and helpers. After class, several alien students gathered around Diana and Tyler to ask more about domesticated animals. "So, these creatures live with you, protect you, and even help you work?" one asked, struggling to comprehend. Diana smiled, showing a picture of her dog on her tablet. "This is Max. He's loyal, smart, and loves to play fetch." The aliens were amazed. Tyler pulled up a video of a horse-drawn carriage. "So, you've missed it? And horses have been helping humans for centuries." The aliens nodded in fascination, their perspectives on Earth's creatures shifting from fear to admiration as they saw the bonds between humans and animals. While Mr. Kiro returned to his office to review the day's lesson, he couldn't shake the images of Earth's predators and domesticated animals. "These humans are truly unique," he muttered, pulling up files on Earth's ecosystem. The more he read, the more impressed he became. From the depths of the oceans to the heights of the mountains, humanity had found ways to survive and even thrive. If we could harness even a fraction of their adaptability, he mused, our species would benefit greatly. He made a note to discuss potential interspecies collaborations with the headmaster, eager to learn more from humanity's lair. That evening, Diana and Tyler met up with their fellow human students in the dormitory common area. "So, how did your classes go?" one of them asked, munching on snacks. Tyler grinned. "We just blew their minds with stories about lions and wolves." Another student laughed. "I told my teacher about hurricanes." They thought I was joking. Diana chimed in. "Wait until they learn about space exploration. That's gonna be fun." The group shared stories of their experiences, their laughter echoing through the dorm. It was clear that, despite the challenges, they were thriving in their new environment. The next morning, Diana received a message from Mr. Kiro. "Diana, could you and Tyler prepare a brief presentation on human exploration for tomorrow's lesson? The class is eager to learn more." She showed the message to Tyler, who has taken a little while to complete. "I don't know how his tiptoes did. Looks like we're teaching again." They spent the day gathering information, focusing on humanity's achievements in space exploration. From the moon landing to Mars rovers, they compiled images and videos that they knew would amaze the alien students. "This is going to be fun," Diana said, imagining the reactions their presentation would evoke. The following day, the classroom was packed with students, their anticipation palpable. Diana and Tyler stood at the front, their presentation ready. As the first slide displayed the Apollo 11 moon landing, the room erupted in murmurs. Diana began, "This was humanity's first step beyond our planet. In 1969, we landed on the moon." Tyler continued, "It was one of many milestones that proved we could go beyond our world." The students were awestruck as they watched videos of rockets launching and astronauts walking in space. Mr. Kiro smiled from the back, proud of his students for captivating the class so completely. As the presentation continued, Tyler introduced Mars exploration, showcasing images of the rovers. These machines have traveled millions of miles to explore another planet, he explained, showing footage of the Perseverance rover in action. Diana added, "They've discovered signs that water once flowed on Mars, and that opens up possibilities for life beyond Earth." The aliens couldn't hide their astonishment. One student raised a hand. "You've sent machines to another world? And they function in such harsh conditions?" Tyler nodded. "It's all about innovation and persistence," Diana smiled, realizing just how impactful their words were. At the end of the presentation, Diana and Tyler opened the floor for questions. Ryan shrugged. "I tried this." A brave alien student asked, "What drives humans to explore space, despite the dangers?" Diana thought for a moment. "Curiosity and survival," she said. "We're always looking for answers and ways to protect our future," Tyler added. "And honestly, it's thrilling." What all the answers are? Good question. We have time for that. Tyler added. "We could be here forever," Tyler added. Tell me who am I?" The idea of discovering something new keeps us moving forward. The headmaster, who had been silently observing, stood and addressed the class. "What you've witnessed today is the essence of humanity. Their resilience and curiosity are qualities we can all learn from." The room erupted in applause. After the presentation, Mr. Kiro approached Diana and Tyler, his admiration evident. "You've inspired them and me," he said sincerely. "Your species' determination is truly remarkable." Diana smiled. "Thank you, Mr. Kiro. We're happy to share our story," Tyler grinned, "and there's plenty more where that came from." As they left the classroom, their fellow human students congratulated them on a job well done. Even some of the alien students approached them, expressing gratitude and newfound respect. The bonds between humans and their classmates were clearly growing stronger, and Diana felt a sense of accomplishment she hadn't expected. That evening, Diana sat in her dormitory, reflecting on the day. She scrolled through her tablet, reviewing the positive feedback from their peers. Tyler walked in with a grin. "Still basking in the glory?" he teased. Diana laughed. "Just trying to process everything. It feels good to know we're making an impact." Tyler sat down, looking thoughtful. "You know, if we can bridge the gap between humans and aliens here, maybe we can inspire change on a galactic scale." Diana nodded, the weight of his words sinking in. "One step at a time, Tyler. One step at a time." Mr. Koss was at his desk, now deeply engrossed in the files Diana had shared. His alien mind struggled to comprehend the magnitude of Earth's natural disasters and the resilience of humans to thrive amidst such chaos. His office was dimly lit, the glow of the tablet casting eerie shadows across his desk. Outside, the stars of the galaxy twinkled through the large window, a silent witness to his bewilderment. Diana, now comfortably settled in her dorm, had begun exploring the files she received from Mr. Kosh. Each file revealed the history of various alien civilizations, their peaceful progressions, and their achievements. The stark contrast to human history left her both intrigued and reflective. She leaned against her desk, the school's tablet glowing softly as she read. The dormitory's common area buzzed with quiet chatter as other students settled in after the day's lessons. Diana's thoughts lingered on her earlier conversation with Tyler about humanity's unique physical prowess. As if she readily attended to the conversation, the door slyly opened and her view was expected to elbow her way in. She couldn't help but chuckle at the idea of humans being viewed as demons by their peers. Tyler, still holding his bag of chips, joined Diana in the common area. They laughed and exchanged stories about their classmates' shocked reactions during gym class. Tyler's animated gestures made the aliens nearby glance curiously, while Diana nodded, a smirk on her face. Back in the gym, the instructor, Mr. Coker, replayed the events of the day in his mind. He still couldn't fathom how easily Diana and Tyler had outperformed his entire class. The gym was now empty, the silence only interrupted by the hum of the equipment's power systems. The next day, Diana returned to the gym for another round of physical training. This time, the stakes were higher as Mr. Coker introduced new challenges. Diana, confident but not overbearing, exchanged a determined glance with Tyler before stepping up to the starting line. Diana's footsteps echoed as she sprinted across the gym, effortlessly clearing obstacles designed to test endurance. The onlookers gasped in awe, their alien eyes struggling to follow her movements. Tyler cheered her on, his voice cutting through the commotion. Tyler took his turn, demonstrating equal prowess as he completed the challenge with remarkable speed. The gym instructor's earlier skepticism was now replaced with genuine admiration. Sorry, it was taking such long. Tyler took his turn, demonstrating equal prowess as he completed the challenge with them all. He jotted down notes on a holographic clipboard, clearly inspired by the human's capabilities. As the gym session concluded, Diana and Tyler high-fived each other, their camaraderie evident. The alien students, still processing what they had witnessed, began to approach, asking questions about human strength and training methods. So, go from here to when you started fighting. So let's go from here. Diana and Tyler answered with humor and patience. Later that evening, Diana uploaded her gym performance to a shared digital network accessible to Earth and the Galactic Federation. Within moments, the post began garnering views and comments, sparking discussions about human athleticism across species. As Diana and Tyler settled at their cafeteria table, they were met with a wave of curious stares from students of other species. It wasn't every day that the so-called Death Worlders joined the communal area. Tyler, unbothered, began unpacking his meal, a protein-heavy spread designed for human consumption. Diana, meanwhile, surveyed the curious alien dishes around her, trying to identify the ingredients. One meal caught her attention, a plate of vibrant, glowing blue vegetables. A brave student from another species approached and gestured toward Diana's plate, seemingly offering a taste test of their food. Diana hesitated but decided to give it a try. The flavor was unlike anything she had ever experienced, tangy and electric, as though the food itself carried a charge. Tyler raised an eyebrow but said nothing, smirking at Diana's adventurous spirit. As the alien food settled in her stomach, Diana felt an unexpected burst of energy. Tyler noticed her slightly jittery movements and teased her about the unknown effects of alien cuisine. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft chime from Diana's tablet, signaling the arrival of a new file from Mr. Kahiro. She quickly opened it, revealing an extensive report about the history of the alien race. Tyler peered over her shoulder, his curiosity piqued. The document detailed the Allens' peaceful evolution and early unification, a stark contrast to humanity's tumultuous past. As they read, Tyler pointed out similarities to certain Earth cultures, sparking an animated discussion between the two. Their lively discussion caught the attention of another student, an alien named Vikar, who approached them with cautious curiosity. Vikar was holding a datapad of his own and expressed interest in sharing his perspective on alien history. The trio quickly fell into a deep conversation, comparing cultural milestones, technological advancements, and societal structures. By the end of the discussion, a small crowd had gathered around their table, captivated by the exchange of ideas. For the first time since their arrival, Diana felt a genuine connection forming between humans and their alien peers. After the eventful lunch, Diana and Tyler headed to their next class, Advanced Xenobiology. The room was a marvel of futuristic technology, with holographic displays of alien ecosystems suspended in midair. Their teacher, an imposing figure with multiple limbs and a deep, resonant voice, began the lecture by explaining the intricate symbiotic relationships found on the Allen homeworld. Diana was fascinated, scribbling notes on her tablet, while Tyler leaned back, absorbing the visuals. Midway through the lesson, the teacher invited students to interact with a live holographic projection of an alien ecosystem. Diana eagerly volunteered, stepping into the interactive display and maneuvering through a dazzling virtual jungle, her awe visible to everyone. As Diana navigated the holographic jungle, Tyler noticed a peculiar detail: a creature in the simulation that bore an uncanny resemblance to a prehistoric Earth reptile. Pointing it out to the teacher, Tyler sparked a broader discussion about convergent evolution. The teacher, intrigued, encouraged Tyler to share more examples from Earth's history. The entire class listened intently as Tyler recounted tales of the T-Rex, velociraptors, and other apex predators from Earth's distant past. The aliens were especially astonished by the sheer size and ferocity of these creatures. The teacher thanked Tyler for his input and promised to research Earth's prehistoric life further, leaving both humans feeling proud of their unique contributions. "I need a little base of the scans." "Fine," the teacher answered with a faint pride as he handed them a piece of plastic. "Let me have one more second." As the class concluded, Diana and Tyler lingered, struck by the immersive experience and the enthusiastic reception from their peers. On their way back to their dormitory, they discussed the significance of what they had just shared. Tyler joked about how Earth's dinosaurs had once again stolen the show, while Diana pondered how much of humanity's past could resonate with other species. And Gregory couldn't get that story out of his head. Their conversation was interrupted by an announcement from the station's central AI, reminding students of the upcoming Interspecies Cultural Fair. Intrigued, Diana and Tyler decided they would participate, eager to present a piece of Earth's culture to their newfound friends. Later that evening, back in their dormitory, Diana and Tyler brainstormed ideas for the cultural fair. They sifted through Earth's vast history, debating which aspect to showcase. Tyler suggested recreating a traditional Earth meal, while Diana leaned toward a holographic display of humanity's artistic achievements. And they eventually settled on a combination: an interactive exhibit featuring Earth's art, music, and cuisine. With excitement building, they began sketching out their ideas on their tablets, their shared enthusiasm filling the room. The project felt like a chance, not only to educate, but also to bridge the cultural gap between humanity and the galaxy. The days leading up to the cultural fair were a whirlwind of activity. Diana and Tyler spent hours perfecting their exhibit, aided by a few alien friends who had grown curious about Earth. They experimented with holographic displays, ensuring the vibrant colors of Earth's landscapes and the richness of its music were faithfully recreated. Tyler took charge of the culinary aspect, attempting to replicate a simple yet iconic dish: spaghetti with marinara sauce. The aroma of the cooking meal drew a crowd of curious onlookers who eagerly volunteered to taste test. Despite a few challenges with alien taste buds, the project began to take shape. On the day of the cultural fair, the station's main hall buzzed with activity. Booths representing dozens of species were set up, each offering a glimpse into their unique histories and traditions. Diana and Tyler's exhibit stood out with its vibrant holographic display and the enticing aroma of freshly cooked Earth cuisine. As visitors approached, they were greeted with samples of spaghetti and the sounds of Earth's diverse music. The reactions were overwhelmingly positive, with many aliens marveling at the flavors and asking questions about the songs. Diana and Tyler took turns explaining the significance of each element, their pride in humanity evident. By the end of the fair, Diana and Tyler's booth had become one of the most popular. The feedback from the alien visitors was heartening, with many expressing newfound respect for humanity's creativity and resilience. As the event wound down, Diana and Tyler were approached by a representative from the station's Cultural Council. The representative praised their efforts and invited them to collaborate on future projects aimed at fostering interspecies understanding. Exhausted but exhilarated, Diana and Tyler packed up their exhibit, their minds already racing with ideas for what they could do next. In the days following the fair, Diana and Tyler found themselves in the spotlight. Their exhibit had sparked curiosity across the station, leading to invitations to share more about Earth in various lectures and informal gatherings. Encouraged by the enthusiasm, they began planning a series of cultural workshops. Deanna proposed a session on Earth's storytelling traditions, while Tyler suggested a hands-on cooking class. They realized that their efforts were not just about education, but also about building connections. Each step brought them closer to feeling like a part of the station's diverse community. The first workshop was a resounding success. Diana's storytelling captivated her audience as she wove tales from Earth's mythology, accompanied by vivid holographic animations. The aliens were particularly fascinated by the concept of heroes and villains, drawing parallels to their own narratives. Tyler's cooking class, on the other hand, was an adventure in sensory exploration. Coming back from Ale, only a short walk in Secret Ale, participants laughed as they tried to replicate his spaghetti recipe, some succeeding and others creating amusing culinary mishaps. The room was filled with laughter and the aroma of earth spices, creating an atmosphere of shared joy. As their workshops gained momentum, Diana and Tyler were invited to collaborate with the station's education department. Together, they designed a comprehensive program on Earth's history and culture. Their goal was to present humanity not just as a species of survivors, but as creators and dreamers. They incorporated elements like Earth's literature, scientific achievements, and even its mistakes, emphasizing the lessons learned. The response from their alien peers was overwhelmingly positive, with many expressing a desire to visit Earth someday. And Diana and Tyler's efforts continued to flourish. Their cultural program became a cornerstone of the station's educational curriculum, inspiring other students to share their own heritage. Diana and Tyler were no longer just humans on a foreign station. They had become ambassadors of Earth, bridging the gap between species. Their journey, which had started as an academic endeavor, had grown into something far greater, a testament to the power of understanding and collaboration, and a vast station. And their journey, this is something far greater, a testament to the power of understanding and collaboration in a vast and diverse universe. In the year 2194, humanity faced its darkest hour. Earth, once a thriving home to billions, had been overrun by the xenomorphs, a species of alien creatures so ruthless and deadly that they brought civilization to its knees. Yet, amidst this chaos, a daring plan emerged to reclaim the planet. At the forefront of this plan was General A.L.W. Spears, a man whose vision and ambition were as grand as they were controversial. Spears believed that the key to humanity's survival lay not in the destruction of the xenomorphs, but in mastering their potential. He had spent years preparing for this battle, forging an army unlike any the universe had ever seen. These were not human soldiers, but tamed xenomorphs, a testament to Spears' belief in the ultimate weaponization of the perfect organism. Spears' confidence in his strategy was unshakable. He viewed this battle not just as a fight for Earth, but as a defining moment in human history. Success would vindicate his methods, secure more resources for his experiments, and cement his legacy as the savior of humanity. The stakes could not have been higher, but to understand how humanity reached this desperate point, we must look back 2 years, to 2192. Space had become humanity's new frontier, but it was also a graveyard for abandoned vessels. Among them was the Junket, a massive cargo ship left adrift in orbit. The ship was a relic of a bygone era, its nuclear engines deemed too costly to retrofit or refuel. Corporations often abandoned such vessels, leaving them to decay in orbit until gravity pulled them into Earth's atmosphere to burn up. It was the job of the Coast Guard, now a spacefaring force, to intercept these derelicts and destroy them before they posed a threat to Earth. So, as you said in the thing, man, this is in Canada, I think. The Dutton, a patrol vessel, was on one such mission when it encountered the Junket. Initially, the crew expected nothing more than another routine operation. However, as their probe entered the ship, it became clear that something had gone horribly wrong. Inside the junket, the probe's cameras revealed a scene of unspeakable horror. Bodies floated lifelessly in the zero-gravity environment, their forms mutilated and torn apart. Tormented. Blood smeared the walls, and words scrawled in the victim's own blood painted a grim picture of their final moments. "Kill us all, please, it hurts, and do it now." Bullet holes, acid burns, and shredded bulkheads told the story of a desperate struggle. Among the wreckage, the crew's probe detected signs of xenomorph activity. Before the Dutton could retreat, one of the creatures, drawn by the probe's movements, attacked. In a matter of moments, the Dutton was destroyed, but not before its crew transmitted vital data back to Earth. The data recovered from the junket painted a chilling picture. Logs from the ship's crew revealed their fateful encounter with the xenomorphs. It also included coordinates to what was believed to be the xenomorph homeworld. This discovery could have been humanity's chance to strike at the heart of the alien threat. However, the situation took a darker turn when Bionational Corporation, a powerful private entity, intervened. Bionational had recovered the junket's lone survivor, James Lakowski. Unbeknownst to the public, Lakowski had been infected by a facehugger and was carrying a xenomorph queen embryo. Rather than alert the government, Bionational saw an opportunity for profit. They placed Lakowski under observation in their secretive labs on Earth, hoping to study and exploit the alien for their own gain. I mean, like, there's a secure place in the jets where I can study and exploit the alien for their own gain. As the embryo inside Lakowski grew, strange phenomena began to unfold. People working near Bionational's labs reported vivid nightmares, filled with visions of xenomorphs and apocalyptic imagery. These dreams spread rapidly, affecting individuals across the globe. Some saw the creatures as divine beings, while others viewed them as divine beings. Out of this chaos emerged a cult, led by a charismatic televangelist named Alba Hay. Hay preached that the xenomorphs were humanity's salvation, divine entities sent to cleanse the earth and bring a new era. The cult grew at an alarming rate. Its members, fanatically devoted to their cause, believed that becoming host to xenomorph parasites was a sacred duty. Their ultimate act of devotion came when they raided Bionational's labs and freed the alien queen. This single act sealed Earth's fate. Within months, the xenomorphs spread across the planet, overwhelming cities and destroying entire nations. The cultists aided the aliens, capturing survivors and delivering them to the hives to be harvested. Humanity's once mighty governments crumbled, and Earth became a hellscape of death and terror. So, while most of humanity despaired, General Spears saw an opportunity. He believed that humanity's failure lay in its inability to adapt. Spears' solution was radical. Rather than fight the xenomorphs, he would control them. Through years of experimentation, he succeeded in creating an army of xenomorphs loyal to him alone. These creatures, trained and conditioned, were his ultimate weapon. Aboard his flagship, the MacArthur, Spears prepared for the first battle to reclaim Earth. In his private quarters, he meticulously laid out his ceremonial dress uniform. Adorned with medals and ribbons, and armed with antique revolvers and a ceremonial sword, Spears' attire symbolized his belief in leadership and spectacle. Though unconventional, it was a statement of his confidence and authority. He and his followers agreed to lead him to the conclave, where Metamor and the religious leader would detail to the conclave their ritual for the day. To Spears, this battle was more than a military operation. It was a demonstration, a chance to prove that his methods were humanity's salvation. Victory would not only reclaim Earth, but also secure his position as the leader of a new era. And he fails. Spears brought in the new gods, words to that effect. Unbeknownst to Spears, two survivors of past xenomorph encounters had stowed away aboard the MacArthur, Hicks and Newt. Both had suffered unimaginable losses and carried deep scars from their experiences. They saw Spears not as a savior, but as a madman whose plan could doom humanity if it failed. It's like all point to man. Now the question is, do I go to him now and tell him to save me? Hicks and Newt knew they had to stop Spears. With limited resources and no access to the ship's controls, they began devising a desperate plan. Their mission was not just to survive, but to prevent Spears from unleashing further chaos upon Earth. As the MacArthur approached Earth, Spears gazed out at the planet through reinforced glass. To him, Earth was not just a battleground. It was a symbol of humanity's resilience and his ultimate destiny. He believed that his actions would be remembered as the turning point in history, the moment when humanity rose from the ashes of defeat. Lastly, Spears gazed out at the planet, looking for a moment, his finger touching a screen, the woman in white dress with its permanently hovering gas. Meanwhile, Hicks and Newt braced themselves for the fight ahead. The ship's silence was broken only by the hum of its engines, a reminder of the looming battle. Time was running out, and the stakes couldn't have been higher. Hell, if he did anything, happened to them. Any kind of infraction. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and its outcome would determine the fate of humanity. The situation aboard the ship was dire, with tensions running high and desperation creeping into every corner. Hicks and Newt, though battered and worn, had a single goal in mind: survival. The ship they were aboard was a hulking military-grade vessel, designed to withstand tremendous damage. Its sleek, armor-plated exterior reflected the cold, unyielding nature of the galaxy's deadliest battles. Inside, however, was a labyrinth of narrow corridors and reinforced chambers, each echoing with the hum of powerful engines and the distant clatter of machinery. Hicks leaned against a bulkhead, his expression grim but focused. "Guns in the suits won't push us hard enough," he muttered, his voice a low growl. And that doesn't even account for what Spears might do if he decides to take things to the next level. Newt stood nearby, her arms crossed as she listened. She blinked, her face an unreadable mask. Was she genuinely engaged or merely tolerating the grim monologue? Hicks decided to assume the former, pressing on. "The drive fields," he explained, gesturing vaguely toward the ship's hull, "follow the contours of the vessel. They form an invisible bubble that keeps us safe while we're in warp. If we were hugging the hull, we'd stay in the bubble. But if we were to step outside, just an arm or a leg sticking out, we'd be sliced clean off. The field doesn't play favorites." Newt's brow furrowed. She was picturing the gruesome reality he described, but she said nothing, letting him continue. "That field," Hicks added, "is better than any armor we've ever come up with. Nothing gets through it, not even light, but that also means we can't re-enter the ship if we step out. Best case scenario, we'd float outside for the entire duration of the warp. Months, maybe even years. Worst case, razor-sharp death." Newt finally broke her silence. "Maybe that wouldn't be so bad," she said quietly. Hicks turned to her, his eyes narrowing. "Maybe if you enjoy choking to death on your own CO2 after running out of oxygen. And even if we didn't suffocate, when the ship eventually dropped out of warp and started decelerating, our bodies would keep going. We'd become eternal debris, tumbling endlessly through space. There are better ways to die." Newt gave a small, bitter laugh. "And worse." Lurton, Hicks nodded. "Yeah, there are worse. But that leaves us with one real option. We wait." He glanced around the room, his jaw tightening. Spears doesn't want to destroy this ship, not with his army on board. Maybe we can threaten him, tear out the ship's computers or take control somehow. Hell, maybe we can ram the bastard into a star. Newt looked skeptical. "Do you think he'll give us a chance?" Hicks shrugged. "Maybe when we drop out of warp. Until then, we've got nothing but time. Time to think. Time to come up with something. And maybe time to regret." The room fell silent, and butterflies hovered to wish. I wish we were dead." Her gaze hardened. "You knew Mitch was an android. You knew before I even met him, and you didn't tell me." I fairly gabbed out what I had to say, but I began to feel sick as Phoebe reached into her pocket. Hicks sighed deeply, rubbing the back of his neck. Yeah, I knew. And I tried to warn you, didn't I? Told you to steer clear of him, but you wouldn't listen. Anne wondered if that was true. Was it fair to blame oneself for one's current roof? She was constantly going to that place these days. You can't pin this on me, Newt snapped. You should have made me listen. And how exactly was I supposed to do that? Lock you in your quarters? Hicks shot back, his voice rising. You didn't trust me, kid. Didn't think I knew what I was talking about. Just figured I was some old grunt past his prime. Newt looked down, her anger softening into regret. You're right, she admitted quietly. It wasn't your fault. I'm sorry. Hicks felt his own anger dissipate. He sighed again, his shoulders slumping. Jesus, he muttered. Big tough Marine yelling at a kid. I'm sorry too. Shut up, again. Before they could continue, a shrill alarm pierced the air, cutting through their conversation like a knife. Hicks stiffened, his instincts kicking in. That's the 10-minute warning, he said. We're about to jump into warp. Newt shivered, the sound triggering memories she'd rather forget. Warp space, Hicks explained, does ugly things to your mind if you stay awake. I was part of the test group once. Half an hour awake in warp, and it made my worst nightmares look like bedtime stories. Newt nodded. She didn't need him to elaborate. She'd had her share of nightmares, visions of the aliens that haunted her every step. Are we screwed? She asked bluntly. Pretty much, Hicks replied. Spears locked us out, dropped a pressure door, and rigged the controls. He's been 2 steps ahead of us the whole time. What if we go outside? Newt suggested, a hint of desperation in her voice. Hicks shook his head. Even if I managed to unseal the hatch, we'd be dead the moment we stepped out. The field would cut us off. Newt frowned. Can we blow the ship? Hicks glanced at her, understanding the impulse. If they were going to die anyway, why not take Spears down with them? This is a military-grade vessel, he said. Our grenades might mess up one section, but the ship's built in airtight armored compartments. We'd die before we caused any real damage. So that's it? Newt asked, her voice hollow. Yeah, it's inattentive for me to be alone. Frankenstein nodded. Your Grace, but without you. Unless we can convince Spears to give us one of the escape pods, Hicks replied. But I wouldn't count on him being that generous. Newt gave a bitter laugh. Maybe if we said please. Hicks smirked despite himself. Not likely, but I've got a better idea. If we said or else, we might get his attention. The rest of the conversation unfolded like a high-stakes game of chess, with Hicks and Newt bluffing their way into one of the escape pods. Spears, a ruthless and calculating man, eventually caved to their demands, though not without a bitter grin and a parting insult. Once inside the pod, Hicks and Newt prepared for the final stage of their escape. He'll probably try to shoot us down, Hicks said grimly, but I've got a plan. Newt nodded, her faith in him unwavering. Together, they maneuvered the tiny craft into a blind spot beneath the ship's guns, a move that bought them just enough time to activate the pod's engines and make their getaway. As the pod hurtled away from the ship, Hicks couldn't help but grin. They'd outsmarted Spears, at least for now. Back on the ship, Spears realized he'd been duped. There were no bombs, no hidden threats, just a Marine and a civilian who'd managed to outwit him. For a moment, he felt a flicker of admiration, but it was fleeting. He had bigger plans, and 2 clever escapees wouldn't derail them. In the cramped confines of the pod, Hicks and Newt allowed themselves a moment of relief. They weren't out of danger yet, but for the first time in what felt like forever, they had hope. And sometimes, that was enough. Hicks leaned back in his seat, letting out a short laugh. I'll pass on seeing his face again, thank you, he said, his tone both sardonic and relieved. But as his expression shifted, it was clear there was more to the story. Hicks frowned, the weight of recent events pressing heavily on him. He got away, though, Hicks muttered, the frustration palpable in his voice. He beat us and got away. I wanted to get him in my sights. There was a certain rawness to his words, a vulnerability rarely displayed. Newt, sitting nearby, offered a pragmatic perspective. "You ought to be glad he didn't get us in his sights," she countered, her voice calm but firm. She glanced out the small viewport beside her, taking in the infinite darkness of space punctuated by distant stars. "Where are we, by the way? And where are we going?" Hicks adjusted the controls slightly before answering. "We'll be inside Luna's orbit in another couple of days," he said, the monotony of their journey evident in his tone. "That is, if the guidance computer on this piece of junk can be trusted." If you believe in that, yeah." He tapped on the display, which flickered uncertainly before stabilizing. "I'm picking up some signals from the region. They're faint, though. Could be automatic transmissions from Earth, or maybe something from the colony on the moon. If it's still there, that is." He paused, considering. "Could be Gateway Station in L5 orbit. I've got the scanner set to pick up the strongest input and home in on it. So," Newt leaned forward, curiosity lighting her features. "You did really good back there, Hicks," she said, her tone genuine. "You're a lot smarter than you let on." I heard myself say. My voice slurred and I blinked rapidly, still waiting for the final locking. Hicks chuckled, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. "You think so?" he asked, a smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. "Yeah," Newt replied, her smile widening. "And a whole lot smarter than you look." Her teasing drew a genuine laugh from Hicks. For a moment, the oppressive weight of their recent ordeal seemed to lift. But as the laughter faded, reality crept back in. Hicks's thoughts turned to what they had lost. And what they had barely managed to hold on to. He glanced at Newt, his expression softening. He hated losing. Losing men, losing ground, and most of all, losing the fight. Yet, she was right. They were alive. Alive to fight another day. At least they had that much. And maybe, just maybe, they'd stumbled upon a sliver of luck. Gateway Station was within reach, and it might offer the refuge they desperately needed. Gateway's number was in, and it was going to be closing time. Another appointment with Fim and the police officer's death could wait and listen. He needed someone to favor him, and losing the Jeep. A sudden burst of static crackled over the comms, cutting through the silence. Then came a voice. "Approaching vessel, identify yourself." Hicks sat up straighter, exchanging a glance with Newt. He toggled the comm switch and replied, "This is Gateway Station calling," his voice calm but firm. "This is the escape pod from the Colonial Marine vessel MacArthur, 2 passengers aboard, uncontaminated. Repeat, no alien contamination of the ship or pod." A pause followed, then a reply. "MacArthur, you are in the grid. Fly in Lazy 8s until the decontamination team can rendezvous with your vessel. Estimated arrival time, 9 hours. Copy?" Hicks confirmed, "Copy, Gateway. We'll be there." As he leaned back, Newt raised an eyebrow. "They have to check us out? Make sure we aren't carrying any toothy little surprises?" she asked, her voice tinged with both curiosity and unease. "That's right," Hicks replied. "And that means the station's clean." He paused, considering. "Gateway's pretty big, about half the size of the old Luna 1. 12, maybe 15,000 people before all the trouble on Earth. Probably built a few more modules since then to make room for escapees. Quarantine?" Newt guessed. Hicks nodded. "Yeah, until they're damn sure we aren't infected. Run us through a CAT scanner, maybe some FLIR. After that, we'll be home free." Newt exhaled, her relief evident. "I can't believe it," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "We're finally going to get somewhere safe." Hicks studied her for a moment, his own doubts simmering beneath the surface. But he didn't voice them. Instead, he simply nodded, offering her the hope she needed. Ketty, her brother's friend who had escaped the bleeders, was in his class on the voyage home. He had no doubt that he... Meanwhile, aboard the MacArthur, Spears remained focused on his mission. His connection with the xenomorphs had deepened, twisted by his obsession. He stood alone, staring into the shadows where his soldiers lurked. The alien queen, still confined in her reinforced cage, watched him with unblinking intensity. Insarian Spears lit his cigar, the small flame reflecting off the transparent barrier. He spoke to the queen as if she could understand. "The time has come for your children to go forth and do battle," he said, his voice a blend of reverence and command. "You can lay 1,000,000 eggs if you do as you're told, if my soldiers obey me as they should. Do you understand?" Spears tilted her head slightly, her intelligence evident in the subtle movement. Spears smiled, convinced of her comprehension. He continued, his tone almost conspiratorial. "Some will perish in the struggle ahead. I know that. I respect it. But in the end, we will prevail. Together, we will forge a new world." Yeah. His delusions grew with each passing moment, the lines between reality and ambition blurring. Spears's plans demanded sacrifice, and he was prepared to pay the price. He moved to the staging area, where his alien troops awaited, their bodies glistening with acidic slime. The faint sound of chitinous armor shifting filled the air. "Stand by, men," Spears commanded, his voice steady. "The time has come to prove yourselves." As the ramp lowered, rain poured in, soaking the ground. Spears stepped out into the storm, sword in hand, ready to lead his army. But as the first xenomorph hesitated, refusing to follow his command, Spears's dreams began to unravel. A vessel, defiant and liberation. Incredulous to the realities he had been under, large Spears crumpled, his arm locked, his fist clenched at his side. And everyone around him feasts their eyes on the sight. The queen, observing from a distance, made her move. In a swift and brutal act, she turned on Spears, tearing him apart. His revolution ended before it could truly begin. And with it, humanity's hope of regaining Earth slipped further away. Back at Gateway Station, Hicks and Newt prepared to face an uncertain future. They were survivors, but survival was no guarantee of peace. As they debriefed and recounted their harrowing journey, they realized their fight was far from over. The alien threat loomed larger than ever, and Earth's fate hung by a thread. In the quiet moments that followed, Hicks and Newt found solace in each other's presence. They had endured unimaginable horrors, and yet they remained standing. Together, they would face whatever came next, because giving up was not an option. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more.